Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm CA Pratik Adgaonkar from Nasik branch of ICI. And a very good evening to all of you. I'm delighted to have this opportunity to host this webinar for you. I'm the moderator for today. And I welcome you all to this topic of webinar on global trends in internal audit, a look ahead. So we have with us respected speaker, CA Praveen Moon sir, CA Preeti Sikdar ma'am, and CA Mohit Dhand with us. I thank them to take some time out of their busy schedule and to enlighten us on the respective topics. Okay. We also have with us CA Charan Singh Nanda sir, Charanjot Nanda, Central Council member of ICI, and he's the chairman of ISB ICI. Also, we have Gyanchand Mishra sir. He is also Central Council member, vice chairman in ISB. Okay, I'm happy to introduce our chairman of Nasik branch, CA Sohil Shah sir. I would like him to give some few words about this session.
Thank you, Pratik. First of all, I am thankful to Charanjit Singh Nanda sir. We met in World Congress session and I told sir, we want to have one session. So within the next day, sir gave us the opportunity, and I'm once again thank you to our beloved Central Council member Charanjit Singh Nanda sir. So coming to today's topic, I also welcome CA Praveen Moon sir, CA Preeti Sikdar madam, and Mohit Dhand sir. So such a huge personality from respective field, and I am sure we will get a thorough knowledge about global trends in internal audit. So this all from my side for today's session. I once again welcome all the members and Charanjit Singh Nanda, and thank you, sir, for giving Nasik branch opportunity to host this session. Over to you, Pratik.
Thank you, CS Sohil sir. Okay, moving on to the next thing. I would like to give a brief introduction of CA Charanjit Singh Nanda sir. Presently, he is chairman of Internal Audit Standard Board and Digital Accounting and Assurance Board, and vice chairman of Banking, Financial Services and Insurance Committee. He has also been member on various committee levels. I would request CA Nanda sir to give a brief highlight of the and importance of this today's session. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Pratik. Mr. Shah, the chairman of Nasik branch. Three of the very reverend speakers, Mr. Praveen Moon, Mr. Mohit Dhand, and Madam Preeti Sikdar, who would be deliberating on topics of contemporary importance. Ladies and gentlemen, as usual, your board is back with yet another program on internal audit. I chair two boards, Internal Audit Standard Board and Digital Accounting and Assurance Board. And we ensure that every Friday we have a program from the Digital Accounting and Assurance Board. And I would like to tell you very proudly that being the chairman of IT committee of SAFA, every fortnightly we hold a program on forensics for SAFA, where a large number of gathering comes from outside India. Coming on to Internal Audit Standard Board, every Saturday we have one program. Every fortnightly we have one another program on internal audit standards. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are back with yet another exciting program on internal audit. The program starts with Shri Praveen Moon, who is the group head internal audit, Apollo Tyres Limited, a very old friend of mine, and he shall be deliberating on creating excellence in internal audit. The second topic shall be taken by CA Preeti Sikdar, who would speak on benefits of integrated assurance in internal audit. And the third topic, again, a young chartered accountant, my younger brother, CA Mohit Dhand, who would speak on evolving role of internal auditor. Ladies and gentlemen, let me very candidly put across that internal audit largely is a sunrise industry. It is essentially a management function where you advise your client, your stakeholders, maybe in form of audit committees or the boards, and more importantly, the regulators and governments, to create value in whatever you do. Very slightly technology has crept in. Now earlier we used to do things in sample. Now the entire database is audited. Second thing, there were some errors earlier. Now with technology, zero error is there. And third and most important, technology and computers are not human beings. They don't have wives. They don't have holidays. Therefore, the work is finished in the time which is allocated to them. But still, human intelligence is very important, and therefore, we want the captains of the industry to come and explain and showcase before you what is expected of you and what are the highest standards which have been set up by them. And more importantly, what are the international best practices which have to be followed by us. Working hard and honing technical skill is very important in life. I'm reminded of a couplet which I would like to share with you. The couplet says, "Gar खैरात में मिलती कामयाबी तो हर शख्स कामयाब होता है। गर खैरात में मिलती कामयाबी तो हर शख्स कामयाब होता। फिर कदर ना होती किसी हुनर की और ना ही कोई लाजवाब होता." If you want to become outstanding, if you want to perform par excellence, you need to be technically sound. And therefore, we are holding such programs. I will not stand between you and Moon Sahab. I am very happy that this program has seen the light of the day. Number of participants are increasing by every second. So I wish this conference a great success. And I would promise you that whenever you want any program, I am at your beck and call. I'm simply a phone call away. You can write a message to me, mail to me, and you want my number, it is there at ici.org. You can simply that and address to me. So thank you so much. And I give back the dice to Mr. Pratik from Nashik branch to take the things forward. Mr. Pratik, the dice is all yours now. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. A big clap for your shairi. And I hope this sets the platform for today's session. Yes, sir. Moving on to the first session, I would like to introduce the first speaker of the webinar, CA Praveen Moon. He is the Group Head Internal Audit, Apollo Tyres Limited. Brief introduction is Praveen sir is heading the Group Internal Audit function at Apollo Tyres Group, responsible for multiple operating entities, including 3 listed companies across different business verticals of tire, healthcare, and education. Keeping it short, he'll guide us on the topic of creating excellence in internal audit. So not taking much time, I hand the session over to you, Praveen sir. We are good to go.
Thank you very much, Pratik. I hope all of you can hear me and see me. Firstly, I would like to thank the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India and the Internal Audit Standard Board for inviting me for today's session. I always look forward to doing these sessions to give back to the institute and to the community at large. And I hope all those people who are joined today, I'm able to make the next 1 hour fruitful for them. I really appreciate that they have taken out time of their personal schedule on Saturday evening and joining this session to enhance their knowledge. I'd like to also thank CA Charanjot Singh Nandaji. His support and his encouragement is always welcome. I know him for last 20 years, ever since that I qualified as CA. And he's like an elder brother, and I'll always look forward to his guidance and support. And I also like to thank CA Gyan Chandra Mishra ji, who's also Central Council member. Also, thank you, the Nasik branch, the office bearer of Nasik branch, CSI Sohail Shah ji and Pratik. Thank you for organizing this session. And also, finally, I'd like to welcome my co-speakers, CA Preeti Sikdar and CA Mohit Chand. Okay, so with this, I will start my session. My session would be for around 30 minutes to 35 minutes. And then we will have a question answer sessions after that. I think the audience can put their questions on the chat, and Pratik would then pick up few questions in the end, and I'll be happy to answer those questions, right? So without much ado, I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so all of you can see my screen? Pratik, can you just confirm that you can see my screen?
Yes, sir. It's visible.
Okay, thank you so much. So this is the topic for today's session, creating excellence in internal audit. And I thought about this topic a few weeks back. And the reason why I chose this topic was that we are now in 2022, and I have seen internal audit profession very closely in last 20 years. And we've seen a lot of development happening in internal audit profession. We in last 10 years, the talk of the town has been data analytics. You know what Mr. Nandaji talked about is that we currently don't do audits on sampling. We do on 100% population. We analyze the entire data because we have the tools and technologies available, right? So we've talked about data analytics. We've talked about risk-based audits. We've talked about how we can support the management in risk management, etc. So a lot of topics in last 15 to 20 years we have deliberated and successfully delivered to management and to profession. So I thought that what is then next? What is that we need to do next? And there are a whole set of activities that we need to do next to create excellence in internal audit. So this is not a technical session. I'm not going to talk about any methodologies, any tool. I'm not going to talk about how to do data analytics. It's a very, very general topic in which I'm going to share some of my experiences of what we need to do to create excellence in internal audit. Okay, so that's the topic that I chose. And the reason the basis on which I have prepared this presentation is that I run an in-house audit function for my company, and I have prepared this presentation mostly for how to run an in-house audit function, right? And how to create excellence within that audit function. But I do understand that in this session there will be a lot of professionals who are practicing, or there are a lot of members who have a professional services firm who must be offering internal audit services to their client. So I'll try to tweak some of my thoughts to how to also make sure that these excellence is delivered to your clients. Okay, and I'm sure it is not a rocket science. You should be able to understand what you need to do for your clients. Okay, but primarily this is created for how to create excellence for an in-house audit function. Okay, so that's I wanted to make it very clear. Now, before we start the session, we need to be very clear is that we need to achieve certain baseline before we can talk about excellence. Okay, we cannot talk about excellence without having certain foundation stone laid out, right? If we have to create a building, the foundation needs to be strong. Okay, so there are certain prerequisites for creating excellence in internal audit, and unless these foundations are put in place, we cannot talk about creating excellence. Okay, so we need to focus first that these foundation stones are laid out, are in there, and are firmly in place before we can talk about creating excellence. Okay, and I'm going to talk about few of them. There could be few more, and if you think there are few more, please put that in the chat. It will make the whole session very participative. So I'm going to talk about few of them. So first is that, of course, we need to be independent of the business. Okay, so internal audit, we always talk about that we need to be independent of the business. Therefore, company law says that we should be reporting into the audit committee and not to the business, or to the chairman of the company, right? Or parallelly to both. Do understand that we cannot be fully or truly independent, but we need to be reasonably independent. Okay, there are many companies in which internal audit reports to the CFO, or CFO takes an active role, or one of the directors of the company, executive director of the company, takes an active role in internal audit. That's not truly independent. It may be, it may not be, but we need to evaluate, are we really independent or not? Okay. Secondly is that we cannot create independent excellence unless management integrity is in place. Okay, so if management has different motives, if the tone at the top is not right, if their motives are not clear, if their motives are not fair, we first need to fix that before we create excellence in internal audit. So we need to make sure that the integrity is in place for the management, and they are not doing anything which is hunky dory to the or detrimental to the company or the organization. Okay, so that's the second. Third is that as internal auditor, we should be given enough space to do a free and fair reporting. And when I say free and fair, it's not just an accountability; it's also our own objectivity should also be put in place. So when we say we should be given a free hand in reporting, please also make sure that we are objective in our reporting. Okay. So we should be fair and we should be free in what we want to report. And I was in a similar session a few weeks back, and a lot of participants said we don't get to report what we want to report. The CFO will at the end will say, okay, please don't report this or report in that way, etc. If that is the case, then we need to first fix that. Then we believe that internal audit is not at the right place. Okay. So we need to have that position within the organization that we are given free hand in reporting what we want to report, not only to all the stakeholders and management and process owners, but also to the audit committee of the board. Okay. Fourth is that we should be perceived as a support to the business. So that also brings a lot of accountability on us. And objectivity to us. So we should be looked at by the management as not as winch hunter, not as someone who will come and tell us what has gone wrong, but they should look at it as a support to the business. They should not just listen to us what we tell them in the audit, but also apart from audit, they should take our active advice and should be perceived as that there are someone who is within the organization who can provide an objective opinion and support to the business. Okay. And lastly, I would say that internal audit should be appropriately positioned and adequately staffed. When I say appropriately positioned, is also to link to the business, is that within the hierarchy we should be right at the top, just below the CEO or the MD of the company. The head of audit position should be right below that. Okay. So we should be senior enough within the organization, or the head of audit or chief audit executive should be senior enough in the organization that people take audit seriously. And when head of audit talks, he is taken very, very seriously. Okay. And we should be given enough resources. We should be given enough budget so that we can do all that we have talked about here. Okay. So all this is prerequisite of creating excellence and internal audit. If we have done all that, if in an organization or in your client, you have all these prerequisites in place, then you can think about creating excellence in internal audit. If not, then the focus needs to be first to fix this foundation stone. If one or two or three element of this is missing, we need to first focus that we have this in place before we talk about creating excellence in internal audit. Okay. So now with that, I'm going to move into what I'm going to talk about is to how to create excellence in internal audit, how to create that excellent internal audit function. And before that, I want to talk about very briefly as to what is internal audit's core objective. Okay. So internal audit for core objective has always been to provide assurance. And this is not going away. For the day one when the internal audit came into being, till now, we are perceived as providing assurance to the management on systems and processes, on compliances, on true and fair view, etc., right? So that is not going away, and that's the basic foundation, and that will remain with us, and that we cannot say that we can run away with that. So providing assurance is our core objective, and it will remain core objective. Having said that, we are also looked at advising the management on key matters, on matters relating to improving governance, improving risk management structures, improving systems and processes, improving digitalization within the company. And also, finally, we are looked at as someone who can anticipate risk and opportunities and tell us management that this is what is going to happen in future, and we should prepare for it. Okay, so these are the core objectives of internal audit, and in any good internal audit function, we would be playing these roles. Maybe in some organization, assurance is more, and rest of the two is less, and in some organization there will be a balance between the three of them. Okay, now why are we being looked at not just as an assurance provider but there are other expectation as well. Now look at this slide. This has come out from a survey which says that in 2014, 15, and 16, round about 20% of our stakeholders believe that internal auditor can be a trusted advisor. Okay, round about 20% believe that. But in 2020 and 21, same stakeholders in the same survey has said that 60% of them believe that internal auditor should be trusted advisor. So do you see this move from 20% to 60%? 3 times jump in the expectation of the stakeholders that we should be their advisor and not just assurance provider. And therefore, it means that we have an active role to play beyond assurance, beyond just providing assurance. This is one of my favorite slides. I use it very often whenever I'm talking about. And if you look at the right-hand side, it gives the building blocks of internal audit. The right at the bottom is assurance provider. So we are assurance provider, as I said in the previous slide, and it will remain. That's not going away. But we have to move from assurance provider to these other 3 building blocks, which is being a problem solver. Whenever management feels that they have a pain or a problem or a complaint, we should be looked at as how we can solve them. We should be generating insights with all the data analytics skills that we have built over last 10 years. We should be able to generate a lot of insight that management is not normally become aware of it during day-to-day running of the affair. And I'll give you some examples. As to how we can become insight generator. Also, and then finally is that we become a trusted advisor. So if we move from one building block to another, we can reach this top, which is a trusted advisor. From purely an assurance provider to a problem solver to an insight generator to becoming a trusted advisor. Okay. Now, so what do we need to do? What do we need to do to travel from being an assurance provider to a trusted advisor? And I've listed down few of these things. We need to do a lot of things. We need to put down our own governance in place. We need to think very, very differently. We need to think that how we can add value. How can we play advisory role? How can we become a trusted advisor to them, right? How can we be relevant, right? How can we adopt digital technology? More and more management is investing hugely in digital technologies. Everything is becoming digital. Post-pandemic, it has just accelerated the way we are becoming digital. So how can we become digital? How can we become business-oriented, business-aligned? So how can we add all these elements in the work that we have to do to create excellence in internal audit? Now, when I talk to my team and all my colleagues in the industry, I thought of various elements that needed to be there, put in place to create that excellence in internal audit. So what I'm going to talk about is that I'm going to talk about 7 key elements which creates excellence in internal audit. And these 7 elements are divided into 2. One are relating to our core objectives, and 3 are relating to how we deliver those core objectives. So this is the kind of excellence, creating excellence model in internal audit is what I've come up. I've done some research, I have read a lot of literature, and I have added what I have been doing in last 10 years or 20 years in my profession and as providing as internal audit services, what I've been doing, and I've come up with this 7 elements. So I'm going to talk about firstly relating to core objectives, which is what we can do around assurance, around providing advisory services, how we can anticipate risk and opportunity, and how we need to become action oriented. Okay, so these are 4 elements relating to objectives of internal audit, and then there are 3 elements which are enablers to these objectives, which I've themed it as tools, capabilities, and governance. Okay, so when I'm saying tools, in that, what kind of tools or techniques that we need to use to talk about to ensure these objectives are achieved, what capabilities we need to have, and what governance systems we need to have, how we can put our house in order to ensure this governance is in place. Okay, so I'm going to talk about a few elements from each one of them based on my experience, and in the end I'll try and summarize this whole model. Okay, so starting with assurance. When we talk about assurance, and please remember, this is the core function of internal audit. But I'm not talking about how do we provide assurance that everything is going right or wrong. When I talk to stakeholders within my company and also other chief audit executive, is much more beyond it, and I'm going to talk about few of them. Firstly is coverage. So more and more audit committee members says that please make sure that you're not leaving out anything within the company. So imagine, I can give examples of my company, Apollo Tires, and we are at 150 locations. We sell from 150 locations within India. We have operations in around 20 countries. We have 7 plants, 2 outside India, 2 in Europe, and 20 offices. We have multiple warehouses, right? Now, how do we make sure that we are covering everything which is there? So audit committee always says that please ensure that you're not leaving out anything. It's not possible to do everything every year, but make sure that on a rotation basis, you are able to cover everything. So that means as a spread of the company, we are covering everything. Also, when we are picking up an audit, we bring that depth, and that is where analytics comes in, that we are able to do everything which is possible in a particular audit. So if you're selecting an audit of supply chain or procure to pay or financial reporting, we are able to ensure that we have covered everything which is possible, everything that can go wrong. Okay, and obviously also says that the new emerging risks like forex hedging, for commodity risk, on cyber security, etc. These are, if you see in last 1 year, this has become really, really, really big. Many companies have been impacted because of this. All this are also taken into account while planning your audits. Okay, so coverage has to be put into place. So make sure that you're planning your audits to cover the entire company. Nothing is left out. Second is 3 lines of defense. So make sure that as an internal auditor, you are the 3rd line of defense. Okay, so make sure that the first and I hope that the audience here understand what is the 3 line of defense concept here. And if not, please Google it, and you will find a lot of literature. And all those who are interested in internal controls, internal audits, and even those who are in accounts and finance, in a position of financial controller, etc. If you do not understand that concept, please Google and read about it. There are some very interesting literature available. So please make sure you are aware of this concept. And I hope many of the people in the audience would be aware of it. So internal audit is the 3rd line of defense. So make sure that you're playing that role correctly. Okay. And sometimes there is a very thin line of difference between the first line of defense and second line of defense and the third line of defense. Don't worry too much about it. Make sure that you're playing your role. And sometimes even if you're going to the second line of defense, that is fine. Don't worry too much about it. Be customer focused. Now, when I say customer focus, and when I ask a lot of people, who's your customer? As an internal auditor, who's your customer? Sometimes they say it is the process owners. Sometimes they say it is the head of the department. Sometimes they say is the manager who's there. Sometimes they say is it the CA people at the CXO. Sometimes they say audit committee, etc. So it is all of the answers are right, but please make sure that you have your audience correctly mapped. When you start an audit, make sure that you know who your audience is, who's your customer, who's the audit report is going to do. I always tell my team that keep the CEO of the company in mind. Eventually, he's your customer. He is the consumer of your services. Obviously, there is an audit committee, and we need to do a reporting to them. But actually, the actions start from CEO. If you have a matter which needs to be reported, if the CEO of the company can understand, everybody below the line would understand it. Okay, so begin with the end in mind. Make sure you have the correct customer mapped, and everything that you do is based on the customer that you have in mind. Okay, and provide insight based on that, and begin with that focus in mind. Okay, so very clear that you need to be very clear as to who's your customer. Okay, gone are the days when we used to do post facto audits. So there are post facto audits that we do, but more and more we are talking about continuous auditing, okay, or continuous monitoring or real time auditing. So you need to have some kind of mechanism by which you are able to analyze data on a real time basis. So when say real time basis, doesn't mean it has to be on the spot, but it can be on within a 24, 48 or within a week's time. And that's where the technology come into place. Therefore, automation comes in place. Therefore, all the use of technology, all the use of bot comes into place, where we are able to, where the technology can automatically comes and tells us what exceptions has taken place in last 24 hours or last business hours or in last 1 week. Okay, so we should not wait for when the audit will happen and we will do an audit and come out with exceptions, etc. We should be able to identify and report on a real time basis. Also, excuse me. Also, go beyond just numbers and processes, and also look at behaviors. So when we talk about root cause, and this is also a thing that we have been talking about many times while we do internal audit, is that we should understand if we observe something, we should identify the correct root cause so that we are able to give correct recommendation. Now, one of the key root cause sometimes is behavior of the people. Okay. Now, make sure that we are also looking at behavior of the people. One of the root cause could also be that people are not accountable. They are indisciplined. Okay. They don't take ownership, or they are just not bothered about it. So if you feel something like this, it is a behavioral issue. Okay. And no matter what systems or processes you need to put in place, unless the behavior is set right, the problem will persist. Okay. So make sure you're also doing assurance around behavior, and don't shy away in giving that opinion as well to the management if behavior of the people is an issue. Next, I would say assurance around digital. So as I said earlier, also that we are, as an organization, as a nation, we are going more and more digital. We will adopt a lot of technologies. Everything that we talked about is getting digitalized. Small things which were when we walk into office, we go to the canteen, etc. Very small applications are coming up, and we are digitalizing at a very rapid pace. Also, we are using a lot of cloud technologies. A lot of our database are on cloud. We are using a lot of third party for cloud storage. And there is also always a risk of cybersecurity when we go around digital. Make sure that we are doing all that. So traditional audit of doing financial operations, compliance, those we are doing, but make sure we are also doing audits around digital. Okay. And if that means we need to acquire additional skills or we need to outsource, etc., we need to figure out, but don't shy away. Don't, if we are not, be very clear that we are not supposed to have knowledge of everything, but we can always get an external help of someone and acquire that knowledge or outsources to get that knowledge. Okay. And also you can use lot of your colleagues in other companies and in the profession. We can always reach out to them as to how they do it in their company and acquire that knowledge. Okay. But don't shy away. Don't say that I do not have that expertise. My core expertise is accounting and risk and process, and I'll only do that. That will not work. Okay. So wherever we need to acquire risk, we need to acquire or we need to outsource. But we cannot shy away from not doing audits around digital. Okay. Otherwise, will not remain relevant. Now I come to the second element, which is advice. Now, when it comes to advice, there is always this talk about is that if we have to be independent, how can we become advisor to the management, etc. I think that's all is an excuse. Okay. Don't look at that as that, okay, I'm the third line of defense, so I will remain line of defense, and therefore I should not provide advisory services. Don't do that. I think this is only an excuse of not doing good work. If you want to do good work and be relevant to the management, and if you have the customer focus in mind, you have to go beyond independence. Okay. Which means that you take up things which are beyond just internal audit services, because you may be able to provide those services, but keep your objectivity, your independent in mind, right? Make sure that you're not taking decisions on your own. Your decisions are taken jointly with the management, etc. But we need to go beyond independence, okay, without losing that independence. The second on advice is that also we need to make sure that the first line of defense and second line of defense are working correctly. Okay. When I say first line of defense is that people at the grassroots level who are supposed to prevent anything going wrong or a fraud to happen. How do we enhance that? How do we build system, process, technologies so that the first line of defense and second line of defense is put into place? Okay. So all that things that we need to do to help the management in strengthening first line and second line of of defense in place, we should be taking those responsibility, and it makes then audit much more safer, because we make sure that the lapses which should get detected at the first moment are detected, and therefore the audit becomes much more stronger. Finally, I would say assurance by design. When I say assurance by design is that get involved right at the design stage. When a new systems is being developed, when a new SOP has been developed, anything which has been reorganized, transformed, reorganized, get involved at that moment of time. A new function being created, a new centralized department being created, etc. Anything new which is happening, get involved right at the time when this is being designed, and make sure all controls, etc. are put in place. All risks are taken into account, right? So that right at the design state, we make sure all internal controls are put into place. There are right kind of processes being put in place. There is a good overview and monitoring system being put into place. Okay. So don't say, okay, you do your job, you develop this IT system, and 6 months later, once the development has taken place and you have implemented, I'll come and do an audit and tell you how we are going on. That doesn't work like that. Okay. That's a pure auditor role. Get involved right at the first stage, and make sure that as an organization, we don't go wrong when we are rolling out a new system or a new business process. Okay, so that's the three elements that I would say we should do in advice. Next is anticipate. When I say anticipate, it means that we need to tell management what's going on in our surroundings. Okay, for that we need to make sure that we become aware. We need to be aware as to what is happening. Recently, I would say in last 1 year, we've seen commodity prices were very high. Oil is become very expensive. Supply chain around the world last 18 to 24 months, supply chain has become really expensive. Containers are not available. The cost of transportation from here to US is very expensive, right? So we need to be aware of what is happening around the world. We just cannot be just doing systems and processes. We need to be aware of what is going on, what are geopolitical developments which are happening, and that could impact the business. So be aware, become a smarter, aware person, so that when we interact with the management, we come across as a smarter, aware person. Be with the trend. And also with that awareness, sense what are the risks which can emerge in near future, which could impact our organizations or our clients, and make sure that we have that dialogue with the management, that we are able to tell them that these are the risks that we perceive that could happen in foreseeable future, and what is the action that we need to take now to ensure that those risks are mitigated. Okay, so these are the two elements I would say that we should include in anticipate and awareness and risk sensing. Last on the models of objective is act, and when I say act, is it really action? Okay, so how can we become action oriented? And I said, I think I have repeated it many times, that we need to go beyond the audit. We are not just internal auditor. We need to become advisors to the management, and we need to go beyond the audit. So please try avenues within your organization that you are able to do other works other than audit as well. Okay, and be a catalyst of change. When I say catalyst of change, is that how how many times do we actually question the bureaucracy? We are always very happy to report that, okay, these transactions were not approved, so many transactions were not approved, signatures were not put in place, documentation was not in order, etc. But do we really question, was that required or not? Was it required that so many people should be signing that document? Did we ever question that whether this documentation was required or not? Is this really necessary or not? Can we not simplify the processes? Can we not cut the bureaucracy? Can we not challenge that and simplify the process for the management? That is how we build the respect for the management. If you are able to streamline, if you are able to simplify the processes, okay. So be that catalyst of change. Just not report exception. We try to help management, try to visualize beyond just reporting on what has gone wrong. Okay. So with that, I would say that I've completed these 4 elements around objective, assure, advise, anticipate, and act. And then I'll move down to the enablers, which are these 3 enablers, which are governance, capabilities, and tools. Okay. So I'll cover each one of them now, and then summarize the whole session. Starting with governance. When I say governance, it is actually how we put our own house in order. And it is very important that we get the model right. That means that we need to ensure that what kind of model that we choose for our organization is right. It is the right fit for that organization. Okay. And don't get into this notion that what my competitor is doing, or what my counterpart is doing, or what my company of similar size is doing is also right for me. That is not true. Okay. Every company is different, and every company would have different needs, and we need to choose what suits our company. There is nothing right or wrong. What is right is what will be suitable for your company. Okay. And therefore this debate about whether an in-house function is better, or an outsource is better, or a co-source is better. What is better is what will suit your company or your organization. So choose your model correctly, I can give you multiple examples. The tire industry that I come from, there are different models adopted by different companies. Okay, I can give you examples of telecom, where there are three telecom players in India, and two of them have in-house function, and one has outsourced the entire audit function. Okay, and they're all similar size. They are all similar size in terms of uh, spread and breadth, but they have chosen different path because that is what suits them. Okay, so don't believe that what my competitor is doing, what Airtel will doing is not what will suit Reliance Jio. Both of them have different needs, and therefore they need to adopt a different model for each one of them. So choose your model correctly. Okay, balancing independence, I think we have talked about enough about this, so I'll not say much about this. But I would, I'll just give you this very simple diagram in terms of how we balance between assurance and advisory, and it's a very fine balance, a very fine art as head of audit that we need to do as to how we balance both assurance and advisory. And we need to do both. We cannot just do one. And I said earlier that assurance is our core. That's not going away, but we need to do more and more advisory ones. So strike the right balance, do both. Okay. Another concept that I want to bring is aligned assurance. When I say aligned assurance, is that it's not important that you are providing that assurance on everything to the management. Okay, there are other departments as well in the company who give assurance to the management. For example, there is a safety department, okay, who does their own audits on safety, and they are better equipped. They are more knowledgeable on that area. There is a quality department which does product quality or process quality or manufacturing quality audits, right? As a second line of defense. There are other auditors. There are external auditors. There are external auditors who come and do quality audits. They do ISO 9000 audits. They do certification audits. So if there is someone who is already providing you that kind of assurance, you don't need to repeat. So find that, make sure that there is no duplication. Make sure that you are using their audits and providing that aligned assurance to the management, making sure that there is no duplication. Nobody wants to get audited again and again, right? So if something has been audited by someone else, use that work and not re-audit that. Okay, it will reduce your work and it will give you a lot of focus on what you need to do. Right? So that's on governance. Sorry, there's one more element on governance is integrated audit. So this is also very important, is that when we pick up any process to audit, do everything around that in one go. That means that if you have to do a process review and an IFC review and an IT systems review, do it all together. Okay, you cannot say, okay, I have come today to do a process audit and there'll be an IFC audit 6 months later on internal controls. No, nobody wants audit on top of audit. So if you are reviewing a function or a process, do everything relating to that in one go. Okay, and provide one integrated assurance to the management. Right. So that's on assurance. I'll move on to capabilities now. And there are a few elements that I talk about. I think most important is people management. And all those who have in-house audit function or who are part of in-house audit function, this is very, very critical. So how do we bring the right talent which is suitable for our company, not just process auditors or financial auditors, but how do we create skills for IT audit, for cyber security, right? If you have to do forex hedging audit, how do we bring that skills and expertise? How do we have compliance, legal compliance kind of expertise? So build those expertise in-house. If you cannot build that, make sure you outsource. Make sure you get right kind of talent. Maybe there is someone else in the company who has that kind of skills. So make sure that you have the right kind of skills. Make sure you give enough trainings to your team, not just on the technical matters, but also to make sure that they become smarter. They when they go and talk to management and the process owners, they come out as a smart individual. Create future managers for your organization and not just auditor. Make sure you do job rotation. get external from other department, get talent within your department, and from your team within the internal audit team, rotate people out to other functions. Okay, so that's how. And there is much more that we can do on people management, and even doing after doing all that, I'm not sure that is enough. So there is just so much that you can do on people management, and I think that's one of the key pillars for internal audit, and we need to do a lot of things on people management. Sub, have subject matter expert, as I talked about. If you don't understand a subject, use the concept of guest auditor. Have a outsourced SME who can come and provide your team the right kind of skills and knowledge. Talk to your peers within the industry as to how they do within with their companies, and try and get that knowledge to you. Okay, so build that, get that subject matter expertise that you do not have. Okay, and lastly is stakeholder management, and that's is very important. And I talked about it earlier. Is that customer focus, right? Very important that you understand that who is your stakeholder, and it could be various people, but understand that you manage all of them, right? Right from person who's at the bottom of the pyramid, who's working on the shop floor, till the CEO of the company. You make sure that you manage all stakeholder very well. Okay. Okay, I'm going to move on. Then the tools, and this is the last pillar of my of how we bring excellence in internal audit. And there are three elements that I want to talk about. One is agility. Now, when I say agility, means that we need to be really, we need to mobilize our audits in a way that we are able to change our audit plans very quickly. So there were times, and I think all of us still prepare an annual audit plan, and that probably will not go away. But what pandemic has taught us is that we cannot plan a whole year in advance. It's very difficult. So just to give an example, when we were in March 2020 and preparing the annual audit plan for 2021, we did not know that there'll be pandemic. Okay, so we prepared the plan as if there'll be a normal year, and in March we were hit with a lockdown, and we thought that okay, probably this is going to last for a couple of months and everything would be normal, and let's continue with this plan. And we proposed the same plan to the audit committee, and few months later we realized that this is here to stay and we have to change our plan. In fact, in the year 2020-21, I have to change my audit plan twice. After my original plan, I have to change it twice because we did a lot of audits, but we were not able to do a lot of other things. So we picked up many other things. So there were a lot of changes. 2021, in March, we thought everything is becoming normal. So let's prepare an audit plan. What we could not do in 2020-21, let's try and do it in 21-22. And in April, there was a second wave, and we were hit by pandemic, and they were locked down for another 4-5 months, right? We have to change the audit plan again. So we have to be agile. The message that I'm trying to say is we have to be agile. If you think some situation is changed and you need to pick some other audit, please do that. Okay. Talked about digitalization at all. So we need to adopt digital techniques, digital mindset, digital technologies for us to do audits better. Okay, and there can be on digitalization, there can be a 3-hour session itself. Okay, high impact reporting. I think this is very important. Is that when we report to the management, make sure that the message is delivered correctly. And I'm going to probably have some examples here to show. So this is like my entire report, and this is a live example. This is taken from my own report, where I did a full procurement audit and summarized the whole audit in just one slide. In this one slide, I have given a message as to what is going wrong and what we need to put, right? This is called high impact reporting. This was my first slide in the audit, and I set the tone for my entire audit report communication. Okay, so I talked about all this A, B, C, D, E, but I gave them a preamble as to how what is coming up and what is lacking. So we set the tone. So this is called high impact reporting. We should use all these graphs, techniques, so that the right insight and right message is given to the management. See, our audit reports are full of data. I think all of us do analyze lot of data, but how do we put that together is very important. And these are some of the examples. This is again one example where we summarize the entire report in one slide of what is going wrong, right? So this is very important. Nobody wants to read a very lengthy report, right? But we want to communicate our entire report to the management. How do we do that? So become smarter. Think about it. Senior management has limited time, and we always complain that we don't get time, but that will always be remain. But how do we utilize that limited time? Okay, high impact reporting, right? So that's on tools. Now with that, I'm going to summarize this. This is the model that I have come out with. These are the 7 elements of futuristic internal audit. Creating excellence in internal audit. These are those 7 elements. 4 relating to objective, assure, advise, anticipate, and act. And 3 relating to enablers. What we need to do on governance side, how do we build capabilities, and what tools and techniques we need to adopt. Okay. So this is what my summary of this whole topic is. These are the 7 elements that we need to adopt. And I keep saying there may be many more that I have not listed here that needs to be done. What is important is you do what is right for your organization. Choose the course of your department based on what is needed. Horses for courses, right? So you can't do everything, but do what is right thing to do, right? So I don't claim that I do all of that I have presented today, but I do few of them within my company, right? And I'll probably do many more in my company in future. And you will end up doing few more things which are not mentioned in this diagram, but it would be suitable for your organization. So understand what is suited for your organization and choose the right course for your organization based on these elements. What is the culture? What is the expectation from stakeholders? What is the internal control maturity? I talked about those basic foundation. Put that in place and make sure, most important, that you have the right people to deliver the objectives. With that, I will end this topic. I will be happy to take few questions which has been put on chat. And in case any one of you wants to reach out to me, you can write an email to me on my email address given here, or please reach out to me on LinkedIn, and I've provided the path here. Thank you so much. I'll be happy to take any questions that you have.
Okay. Thank you, Praveen sir. It was a very insightful session. It really gave us a practical approach for handling the internal audit functions within the company, covering many areas. We understand that we do have a greater responsibility towards the company as a whole. And given the fast-paced change in the economy, we should really aim for the excellence in this field. For the questions, I'll just check out which questions are really for the session. Just give me a minute. Okay. In general, CA Subramani from SIRC, he had a common question. What are the situations that internal auditor may face legal issues after the report or post internal audit report, maybe within the company?
With I cannot envisage any legal issues that one can face if you've done the right kind of job. I don't see, unless there is a professional negligence on your part and you have not done your job. Yes, there can be a disciplinary action. There can be legal action, which is possible within the rules of the company, within the code of conduct of the institute, etc. But if we have done the right job and we have done a fair reporting, I don't see any legal action against an internal auditor.
Okay, thank you, sir. One more question from Purushottam Gagar from EIRC. Kindly highlight the methodology to be adopted for conducting internal audit under SAP or ERP environment, where all documents are online, and tools that can be used for better results in conduct of audit. Tools maybe, I was also having the same kind of question. Any specific software or is it inbuilt in the SAP itself?
Okay, so see, there are multiple software which are available. There is IDEA, there is ACL. Now there are a lot of GRC tool in which you can build in script, which can go and fetch data from SAP and generate exception reports. There are multiple of them which are available. There are also business reporting tool, business warehouse tools which are available in on which you can create exception reports. Okay, and many of them are independent of SAP, but they automatically go and fetch data and give you exception reports. So there is no one fit all kind of tool. You have to see what really is suitable for your organization and adopt accordingly. And again, this is a very broad topic. So if anyone wants to have a very detailed talk, please write a mail to me and I'll be happy to have a conversation with them.
Yes, sir. Definitely, because that is the practical approach. How to fetch the data? The data is too much, and how to handle that. It would be a very good session.
Yeah.
Future. Also, one more question from WIRC, Rajesh Kumar Sharma. Which form of internal audit functioning is better, in-source or outsource or co-source for different types of organization, say small, medium, or large?
Okay, so as I said, I covered that in my talk, is that you have to see what is suitable for your company. So it's not that one is better than other. What is suited for your company is the best. Okay, and I gave that example that Reliance Jio and Vodafone has an in-house audit function, and Airtel for last 15 years has an outsourced audit function. They've completely outsourced their function. Now they are all working in the same industry. They are similar size. They have same regulatory environment. They face same kind of risk, etc. But they have different models. So this is nothing right or wrong, right? Another example that I can give two similar size company within the same example. Sorry, I cannot give you the name. One has around 10 people in the audit function. The other has 25 people in the audit function. Now, does it mean one is efficient or the other is inefficient? No. Is management has given certain expectation to the audit function and they are fulfilling that. Okay. The company with 10 people are also meeting the expectation, and the department with 25 people is also meeting the expectation. Okay, the expectation are different, therefore the models are different, therefore the resourcing is different. Okay, so think about what is suited for what is that you want to achieve from internal audit and create model based on that.
Thank you. I hope it covers the question answer. Okay. A few more questions, one or two I'll take. What are the predominantly used tools in? I think we can cover a session later on with the tools, keeping in mind. Okay. Please discuss on continuous control monitoring, CCM, and control self-assessment.
Yeah. So I think continuous control monitoring is another topic that we can do. This is beyond my topic currently. So continuous monitoring is building all those systems and processes in place by which you can get real-time alerts of what is going wrong. So I talked about real-time auditing, and how do we achieve real-time auditing is through continuous auditing or continuous control monitoring. Okay. Again, this can be a sessions on its own. And we can do a lot of things to build a continuous monitoring system.
Okay, one question has come up. One having experience with IFC can conduct SOX audit. How IFC is practically different from SOX?
Principally, they are more or less same. The methodology which is used is also very similar. if you've done SOX audit, you will be able to do IFC. If you've done IFC, you will be able to do SOX audit.
Okay. I think I've covered the questions which I got in the chat. So we are very thankful to you, Praveen sir, to take out such time and briefly guide us in this whole topic.
Thank you so much, Pratik. Thank you.
Okay. Sir, if you wanted to take a leave.
Yeah, I would be around for some time and then I'll leave.
Okay.
I need to go somewhere. But anyone who wants to reach out to me, I have shared they can reach out to me on LinkedIn or write an email to me on praveenmoon@gmail.com and I'll be happy to respond to them. Thank you so much and have a nice evening.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Okay. So moving on to the next speaker, we have our second session. So for the second session, we have CA Preeti Sikdar, ma'am. We welcome you, ma'am. She's the Executive Vice President, Risk Pro India Ventures Private Limited, which is a boutique risk advisory firm specializing in risk and SOC2 audits. She has over 25 years of experience in audit, assurance, risk consulting, and compliance. She has been a DISA faculty and has spoken at many forums of ICI and ISCA. She will be sharing the benefits of integrated assurance in internal audit. So may I have Preeti Sikdar, madam? If we are ready, we can continue the session. You are not audible, ma'am. You are on mute.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Will I be able to share my screen?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, you can directly share it from there.
Can you see the screen?
Yeah, we can see the screen. The Zoom screen is.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, it's visible.
So I will just minimize this thing or stop video so that the screen is visible. I request all of you to stop the video so that the screen is visible properly. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you, ma'am.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. My pleasure to be here today to address you on the benefits of integrated assurance in internal audit. Now, we have been doing audit since donkey years. At least for me, it's not a new thing, right? And throughout the years, I've observed that the way in which we do audit, it has changed. It has kept on evolving. I can't say change, but it has slowly and steadily evolved as per the business environment that was there. So basically, if we see that what is this integrated audit, what is non-integrated audit, what is the difference between the two? So if we say non-integrated audit, it's just like any other traditional audit, and it focuses on financial statements, operational aspects, and what we all used to do in the audit plans and carry out the tests and give the report to the management either quarterly or 6 monthly. But an integrated audit, it sums up the entire business process, and it not only covers the financial audit, but also the internal controls that govern each and every aspect of the organization. So this is where the radical change has occurred. because now we are not just undergoing one statutory audit at the end of the year. We are succumb to n number of audits due to the changing legal and regulatory landscape. New regulations, new compliances, including GDPR and HIPAA, and and the new privacy bill of India, which is coming up. So day by day, the pressure of the regulators, the SEBI, the LODR, everything is increasing to such an extent that we are forced to uh, think that do we want 13 different audits for the 13 different certifications that we have in our company, or like Praveen was saying, that why not integrate the audit into such a way that we avoid redundancies, at the same time have a very strong baseline of controls in our audit, so that at any time, like in LCM it is, that you sum up all the controls required by each of the compliances that you have to go through, and have those controls incorporated, implemented, so that at any given point in time, whenever an internal audit, whenever an integrated audit takes place, you find yourself to be compliant to any of the compliances or standards or guidelines that are given to you as mandatory. So that is the idea which has come up, that integrated audit, non-integrated audit. We have been doing non-integrated audit since donkey years, as I said. But an integrated audit will integrate the best part of all the different audits that you are. So it gives the internal audit department also ample scope to develop themselves into more and more, say, for example, technological areas, for more and more into risk identification areas, more and more into uh, a, a one whole where they can perceive the organization as a single mass with common objectives and not just department by department. Because when that used to happen, sometimes you would have observed that there were silos and there were Chinese walls even between two adjacent cabins. People were not talking, they were not sharing. So the whole idea is to share and integrate your information in such a way that you can perform an integrated audit, either the internal audit team together with the external audit, or with subject matter expert, or any which way, but to give optimum results. That is what is important for us, getting optimization. And that is one of the objectives of our governance process also, that we want to use our resources in an optimum way, avoid redundancies, and see to it that we complete everything on time, and we don't pay unnecessary penalties, we don't pay unnecessary this thing, and we are online real time. That means we are up to date. We are proactive. That is what Praveen also said, that now is the time when we have to be proactive, not just doing post-mortem audits. So exactly that is the message behind the fact that we are now moving towards integrated assurance. Now, in an integrated assurance, whether it is project management or systems or operations and management, everything would be taken as a whole and audited in a predetermined way and on a predetermined time schedule. So you need to develop the new means to integrate your audits and to perform the integrated audits. So if you see emerging trends in the IA profession, over the past few years, internal audit has repositioned itself as an influential function within a company. Earlier, you say, okay, internal audit, you are in internal audit was not considered to be such a hi-fi department. But now, internal audit has, as Praveen says, become advisory department to the business, advisory to the other auditors, because they have a plethora of information about the organization, about the business, about the benchmarking with other companies that is really required in doing a very effective audit. And that's all the time what Praveen had been emphasizing, that what is required for your organization, what are the resources you are having, and what is, the basic difference between effectiveness and efficiency is that efficient, a machine can be efficient, a software can be efficient, SAP R3 can be efficient. But what is the best system? A best system is one that serves the purpose. Serves the purpose. If you are a medium sized company, you are not able to afford the hi fi tools, but yet you are operating in a controlled manner and you are achieving your bottom line, then you are effective. You are running your company in an effective way. Likewise, you have to run the internal audit shop also in an effective way. So, and we know very well what do we do in internal audit. We are also looking at the key controls that we have set. The first line of defense, which he was talking about, is what? Policies and procedures that have been laid down. Now, whether you are following those policies and procedures, what are the key risks from external parties, from internal that you are facing? So that used to be a part of your internal audit earlier also. But now, with the SOX coming in, with more liability on the management to prove that they have internal controls in place, this has taken on a new dimension. So you have to identify the key risk and take the advisory role to the decision makers. Now, internal audit has become a significant part of the organization because they are managing all other audits, so to say. Whichever audits are appearing, whether outsiders are coming to do it, or some other group is doing, or the risk department, assurance department, any other department. So this new importance was heightened by the events of 2020. Again, on top of that, COVID-19 has brought in many changes in the way we think, in the way we work, and in the way we audit also. So earlier we used to go on site do audit, but still now we find that even for the overseas parties, we are doing remote audit. We are taking snapshots. We are taking a full view of, for physical controls. We are making them walk over the entire facility to show whether the control points are at the appropriate places or not. So COVID has changed a lot, many things. Organizations who used to believe that remote working will not be possible, they again had to rethink because they had no other option. And the challenging labor market, new global leaders, and influential social movements causing disruptions to processes and creating substantial risk. There were third-party risks, there were supply chain disruptions, and all this we have gone through in the last 2 years. And that has changed the way our outlook towards internal audit as well. Internal audit is now under greater scrutiny to be able to efficiently identify the key risks and guide organization through future periods. So now, slowly, internal audit department has become mature and they are now able to scrutinize the risks also and guide the decision makers into taking appropriate steps to prepare themselves for the future periods as well. So what is the concept of integrated assurance? Mind well, we have a definition of integrated assurance. It's not a brainchild of Preeti Sikdar. Okay. Now this has evolved. Now integrated assurance is the framework which enables an organization to maximize the coverage of assurance in a coherent and coordinated manner by avoiding duplication or gaps across control types. So the thing to be noted here is avoiding duplication or gaps. You don't reinvent the wheel. Whatever you are checking in one audit or whatever is being checked in, say, compliance audits or GRC audits, do not duplicate it. So if we integrate the assurance function altogether, then our aim should be to avoid duplication or gaps across control functions. Because at the gist of it, what is it? I sometimes call myself a control professional because I'm a chartered accountant also, I'm a CISA also, I'm doing those types of audits also. But above all, I'm going to check the controls in the client's establishment. So we are all control professionals, and that is what we have to bear in mind, that we need to see the entire control infrastructure in an organization in order to carry out a comprehensive audit, be it with operations, be it of physical access, be it logical access, whatever it is you are going to check, it should be well within that means. Internal audit assurance role can be achieved through different types of engagement, such as assurance on various financial, it can be financial, non-financial, governance, risk management, control processes, or any integrated reporting. For example, nowadays we have SOC 2 reporting, we have HIPAA reporting, we have SOX, we have GDPR, we have so many other compliances which apart from the ones that we have due to our regulators, like the banking industry, the IRDA for the insurance industry, apart from those controls and those audits, we have all these separate audits, ISO 27001, then business continuity compulsory for all the financial institutions. So maybe 22301 has been taken, 38500 for governance, and as many as you can think, there are wholesale of ISO certifications which apply to different organizations in different ways. So you can say, even I cannot say that I'm expert in all the ISO, but I know only one thing, that all the ISO will advocate that you build up a system, you carry it out, implement it, monitor it, and continuously monitor it, so that there is a continuous improvement taking place. So all, because after all, what is ISO? ISO is nothing but Indian Standards Association, right? Organization. So you have to standardize your efforts. So in integrated assurance as well, we need to standardize our assurance processes. And the best way, friends, to do this is to build up our organization's proprietary controls baseline. Baseline means the base minimum controls that are necessitated according to what Praveen also said, what you need. It's not all the controls under the sun you have to have. You need to have those controls which are mandatory for you and which are necessary to carry on your organization for governance purposes, for your security, for your cyber security, because now, today's business environment is so complex that on one side you have the threat from the cyber security, on another side you have third party assurance, on another side you have threat from contracted labor, on another side you have even internal employees, because if you do not recruit them properly and you do not have a decent healthy culture, you may stand a threat from them also. So you need to see where the risks are there. So always I have believed that risk and control are interrelated to each other. Wherever there is a risk, there is an exposure. That means what do you call it? A fear that you will lose something. There can be a loss, either to reputation or to a financial loss. And wherever there is an exposure, it has to be covered by a control. So to say, in an integrated assurance, we are going to concentrate on areas of high risk and cover at least those risks, so that we prioritize our remediation measures, so that high risk areas we cover first, and the lower risk areas, maybe we live with them or we take them at a later date. Got it? Okay. So internal audit's assurance role can be achieved through different types of engagement, such as assurance. So that's what, either it can be a financial audit or non-financial or governance assessment or risk management or control process, supporting the main objectives of integrated reporting. So, what are some challenges? Let's see some challenges related to risk assurance and governance. Difficulty in demystifying the concept of combined assurance. समझ में नहीं आता. Some people really don't understand. Even if you try to explain to the client, look, we have to combine these, they will say, why? We are doing our bit and they are doing their bit. Why should we combine internal audit with risk department? So you have to demystify, show them the benefits, and you have to be very, very good at not only communication, but you have a fair amount of patience also with you. Assurance, inefficiency, and overspend. Because obviously, if you are going to reinvent the wheel, whatever risk is doing, assurance is also doing at some time or the other, or the risk department. So there is some overspend because after all, every control will be involving some monetary spend. Incomplete risk and opportunity universe resulting in the wrong risk being audited. Audits are often performed by ill-equipped and inexperienced. So if the risk department also involved in identification of the risk and then the assurance does a fair amount of tasks, then the wrong risk may not be taken and all the right risks, which are very high value risks, will be selected. Plus, a lot of time and cost will be also saved. Audits are often performed by ill-equipped and inexperienced assurance providers. Assurance people, sometimes they do not have the requisite knowledge about risk and IT. So if they shake their hands with the risk and IT people, then they can do a much better job because then you are a team. And all such integrated assurance has to be under one head, who would be the head of internal audit. But under them, all these small teams will do work in coordination. So more complex risks, increased regulatory scrutiny, and more rigorous compliance environment. So wherever there is a very complex environment, it's better that you should follow this integrated audits. More complex risk increase and more rigorous compliance environment is taken again. Silo-based responses from governance, risk, and assurance department. See, everybody has their own uh, their own sense of self-respect and a little bit of ego problems. So there may be some silos where one person cannot get along with the other person. So these types of things are there in some organizations, and this has to be eliminated. And this has led to duplication of functions and multi-layered processes. So I'll give you a live example. I was doing one audit for a finance company, and then I found the main problem with them was the silos thingy. And after I finished my work, the other person who doesn't even integrate with the group, he said, I've already built something like this, I will show you. So then if you have already built something like this, that was a SOP, then what was the need to call me? No. But it was just because there was no communication between the management and that group that they could not come out saying that we already have made this type of document. So this is a very, very serious matter, and no management should tolerate any silos. That's why, coordination, group programs and group parties and all are organized so that employees interact each other in a better way. Then insufficient stakeholder reporting. Stakeholders are your very important people, though they may not be within the organization. We all know that stakeholder interest, even the governance, corporate governance, when we say that stakeholder interests have to be safeguarded. So we do not report to the stakeholder important issues. That can also be the case. Significant audit committee burden to govern and approve assurance plans without supportings from other board subcommittees. So the audit committee is burdened with taking onus or signing certain documents which are not based with supporting from the supporting subcommittees. They should endorse, subcommittees should endorse the documents, and then the audit committee should sign, but that does not happen. Perceived lack of value from risk and assurance activities. Board members and executives not adequately protected by risk and assurance processes. Inadequate assurance provided to social and ethic investment and remuneration committees does not always fit in with the way the business operates. So if the proper input is not given to the risk department, they will not able to gauge the operational risk, the business risk that the organization is facing. Inadequate involvement of board subcommittees in the discussion. So this may be happening because the subcommittees have not been involved at all. They are not in the know-how of what is happening, and that is why the proper channel through which the documents should have gone for signing has not gone. So, what are the value drivers? Organizations' responses to risk events and regulatory mandates have often resulted in increase in assurance costs. So, obviously, when you are doing so many things in separately again and again, it will increase the assurance cost. Integrated assurance aims not only to rationalize the assurance activities and achieve efficiency, it also aims to direct the assurance activities to where they will create the most value. Because I am the internal auditor, I have with me the IT person, I have with me the risk person in my team, as well as I have with me a business person also. And together they will, give the pointer as to what is the business risk they are facing. The the IT person can find the IT solution. The risk person will immediately find some mitigating way to control it, or maybe project it to the management for further mitigation. So when interdisciplinary people do the audit, it is much better because it gives more efficient result, and the result is cost effective also and more effective also. So integrated assurance is designed to align assurance activities around the drivers of value in the organization. Now, this drivers of value, why this is appearing? Because that is one of the aims of the corporate governance, that you want to get value for the organization. You must gain from your activities, and to create visibility into the risk and effectiveness of risk management by boosting efficiency. So this will definitely bring in visibility when you are acting in a team. Plus, your reportability is towards the head of internal audit. So you are protected under an umbrella whilst doing and interacting with other. So here you may even think of interactors. We used to interact with the statutory auditors also, external auditors, SMEs. Suppose I am not having any knowledge in, say, one of the cases when I was doing in KPMG London. So I did not know how to audit agile computing. So I inquired within the organization, and I found out that there is one team who does the audit of agile functions. So when even Praveen has accentuated that if you do not have any uh, subject matter expertise, you can get a subject matter expert to loop him in and give you guidance, and maybe do the audit or do the function which you are not very happy to do, or maybe you don't have the capability to do. Okay. Internal audit controls and safety measures are at greater risk with a remote power. So this you cannot help it, because this is the product of the COVID. Key safety measures and audit controls become a bit of a challenge for a remote workforce working on unsecured Wi-Fi connections. That's why we always say that VPN is a must, because when the data is moving from the employee's home to the office or to the clients also, it is moving on an unsecured network, that is the internet. So in order to securitize it, you will have to give the VPN facility to the employee so that when the data is moving from one place to the other, it moves in an encrypted form so that the third party who is viewing the data will not be able to understand the data. Okay, so it's a challenge. It's a challenge. We also sometimes ask, that what if whether these people are um, directly talking to the customers, or they are going through the corporate network and then going, because corporate networks has all the security measures like firewall and all, but going through VPN also is bit of a dicey affair. So ideally the data should go through the corporate office where the further filters are there, and then go to the customers installation. So this is where the entire business is rooted through customers or in the cloud or whatever. So the third point is very much valid, that internal audit controls and safety measures are at greater risk with a remote workforce working on unsecured Wi-Fi connections. Now, sometimes they even say that suppose a remote salesperson is traveling and he has checked into a hotel. Now, hotel is giving free Wi-Fi, but that free Wi-Fi is not secured. So when you are interacting through that, you are still having a security issue. So these are the things that we have to live with and face with, because they're all the inherent risks, I would say, of operating in this way. So now there are various factors, we have been facing integrated assurance. Now, why we want to go for integrated assurance? Because it can lead to time saving, can reduce the cost to an organization. Because just imagine you are doing 13 audits, but now you have reduced to 2 or 3, because you have got common controls, you are checking on them, and you have agreement with the auditors and 2, 3 auditors doing together. So now you are saving on time also, and maybe you are reducing the cost to the organization. Internal audit engagements can be aligned with external audit, allowing external auditors to leverage the work of internal audit in the areas such as internal controls. So sometimes you may also invite that, okay, when the internal audit is happening, why don't you do it along with the external auditors, so that, they leverage the work of the internal audit and base their reliance on certain controls over financial reporting or IT controls. So, by understanding the various compliance and assurance areas within an organization, internal audit can incorporate some of these requirements within the risk-based internal audit plan. So nowadays they are making risk-based internal audit plan. So these type of controls can be incorporated in the risk-based audit plan also. So this is one of the trends. Then why do we do integrated? Because the key benefits of an integrated internal audit and assurance is focusing on high risk areas. Now, somebody had asked the question of control self-assessment. Now, what is control self-assessment? Control self-assessment is nothing but, the shop floor level managers are getting into a workshop mode and discussing the areas of high risk. Now, what is the benefit of doing that? The benefit is that shop floor level managers are close to the shop floor where the operations take place, and they are in a better way to understand where the risk lies. Okay, so now when the control self-assessment is being done, the auditors are invited, internal auditors are invited, external auditors are invited only to witness and not open their mouth. So they witness what is going on, and they will vouch for the fact that these were the risks that had been identified during that. So actually, it's not a replacement of audit, but it is augmenting, it is supporting the audit. That is what is control self-assessment. So, but the purpose of control self-assessment, why I'm coming up here, is to focus on areas of high risk. Now, how you do the audit, whether you do a self-assessment or not, again is up to the organization, because risk per se is a subjective concept. How I perceive risk and how you will perceive risk may be two different ways or two different results. But important thing, it's my business. I will do the way I want it. So I will adopt the policy I wanted and I will do it that way. So if I have incorporated that a CSA be done, then CSA shall be done. That is it. But the fact is that we then have to see whether there was any benefit that you derived from CSA. That the auditor can see. And that is why the internal auditor, the external auditor, they are called. You just see whether there is any value added by the doing this CSA. And many times there is. So reduce risk, less stress on an organization's limited resources, and resources are always challenging. So that is why if management hears that by doing something you are going to exert less resources, they'll all be all game for that. And a clear view on how assurance is provided through various lines of defense, both internal and external, and all lines of defense you have already discussed in the last presentation. Role of diversity. Now, what is diversity? Different types of people in the team. Businesses should encourage diversity. Now, this has taken in a big way. Even the ESG people are including diversity within their. So you have diverse type of people who make the teams. All functions, and like you have the ladies, you have the gents, and you must have a diverse group. And as efforts to increase the diversity of their wider workforce, it will reflect in better results. Why they say you should have diverse workforce? Because it will lead to better results and better audit soft skills for corporate culture. So all this will enhance your culture when you project yourself. See, a certain, I think Amazon or some other side, they project that we have a highly diversified workforce. So they advertise that because they want the people to know that we are a one up above others. Benefits from diversity are, so what are the advantages? Just let us have a look. Diverse audit teams contribute innovative thoughts, ideas, and solutions. People who are coming from different backgrounds, they can have innovative thoughts, ideas, and solutions which they can put on the table. It allows underrepresented groups to feel comfortable expressing concerns. It brings together auditors with different backgrounds, ways of thinking, and skill sets. And a diverse internal audit team signals a wider intention to address inclusion and impact company culture across the board. So it has a very positive impact on the reputation of the company also once you advertise it. Plus, it gives you the richness of involving diverse people, getting good but the different type of thoughts, ideas which go into the audit function, in integrated audit function. So if you see on the right hand side, can you imagine this type of a workforce of the future? Two powerful internal audit future trends are shaping the future of work. One is the rapid adoption of automation and cognitive technologies and the increasing use of alternate staffing models. These trends are raising questions as to who's doing the work on or off balance sheet talent and where the work is being performed on site, remotely, and both trends present new risks for organizations to address and new opportunities for internal audit. So we are coming to what the cognitive technologies are and what is automation. But the thing is that how ready are we? Big companies are adopting those as a new trend to internal audit. But how ready are the medium and small scale to adopt these technologies? So internal audit has responsibility in this area. What is always, accepted doesn't mean it has no risk involved, right? Review all talent sources from policy, procedure, and physical workplace perspectives. Be prepared to alert the management to the risk of mobile users using their own devices. Sometimes people are using their own devices. So that also is risky. Maintaining a strong culture becomes challenging with dispersed workforce, diversified workforce. They have different festivals to celebrate. They have different culture that they follow. And I tell you, this is one big problem because in London, when I was working, they say every seventh person is a UKI. Okay, that means the first six are from outside. So much diversity is there that even if you go on a tube train, the metro train, you will find all types of people from all nations. So that was, and I think it is hitting them back now, but that was the liberal way in which they have developed the diversity. Okay. When a remote worker is connected to unsafe Wi-Fi network, internal audit controls and security are more susceptible to being. So this is one of the issues that internal audits have to consider. Then altering regulatory threats. Domestic and global compliance is vital and companies with global offices or customers. So for example, GDPR, for example, HIPAA. So it is not a law of our country, but we have to adhere to the laws of other countries if we want to do global business. So we have to adhere to GDPR. We have to adhere to other regulations. There is a Privacy Act of California. And then if you come and make a list, there's an n number of things that you have to follow. There again comes the rider that what is applicable to you, you have to concentrate only on that. Data and analytics processes. There are a variety of tools. Like somebody had been asking last time, now there is no dearth of tools. Wherever you look, you will find smaller vendors, larger vendors. They have a lot of tools to help innovating, incorporating, and implementing to conduct cost assessments and regulations to ensure it's cost effective and fit for purpose. So data analytic tools have become very necessary because data itself has expanded so much. If you call for and you get so much data, now to pass from that data and find something meaningful is again really a challenge. So, okay. Then cyber internal audit as strategic. So you know that risk and opportunities of cyber increases. Internal audit needs to adapt it to continue to provide value to the organization. So you have to consider cyber security also within your internal audit, and you have to define the roles and responsibilities of the people. So these areas might include data protection. So because what is the main area to be protected from external hackers? Data, identity and access management, cloud security, risk monitoring. Develop an audit plan for coming quarters and years based on the assessment and risk ranking of the domains and specify the scope of each audit. So you have to do this. You have to have a cybersecurity audit also performed. Assess the audit plan. You have to have a vulnerability assessment. You have to have a cyber audit. Assess the audit plan and scoping at least annually for continued relevance among emerging issues. So at least once in a year, you should carry out this also cyber internal audit. Then when we are using this disruptive technologies, we have robotic process automation and cognitive intelligence. So machine learning and artificial intelligence, all these disruptive technologies are winning acceptance as innovators and early adopters continue to prove their value throughout the internal audit life cycle. So now companies are going to use these technologies for integrated assurance. First, develop. So what you have to do? Develop a well-defined vision and strategy for automation. Automate is good because at one time you can do all the transactions audit and in a very fast manner. But you have to have a well-defined vision and strategy. Second, build an infrastructure to support the deployment of automation. Patachala, you have brought the technology, but you don't have supporting infrastructure. So you better see to it that, the effective implementation, ongoing maintenance and risk mitigation of the infrastructure is there. Then develop a target state operating model to support and sustain the automation. This model should be natural extension of the existing operating model. So based on your operating model, see to it that you develop a suitable operating model to run all these technologies. And then you must also point out what are the risk of disruptive technologies. So driven by the need to create value and drive efficiency. That is why we are accepting these disruptive technologies. But while adoption of this internal audit future trend, both in the business and in internal audit, is spreading fast. But what is the role of the internal audit? They must understand the risk associated with the use of these technologies and advise the management accordingly and reassure them that there are risks, but I have covered them. So the risks are being adequately addressed. Internal audit should focus on anticipating risks associated with these technologies by using data analytics. So how will they do that? So they should employ, say, SME if they are not so conversant, data analytics and risk sensing tools to proactively identify emergent risks and by running crisis simulations to reveal potential lapses. So this, I say, is the technology for the future. And this is going to be adopted by all the big organizations and is being adopted. And in brackets, I would say that the risks are being gauged with the help of data analytics and risk sensing tools. And the most important was what Praveen also said, is people. It's people all the way. People can make systems, people can break systems, and culture within the organization is very important. So culture supports business strategy and must be actively understood and managed. Risk to culture occur when there is a misalignment between the values and leaders' actions. Whatever I say, I'm not walking the talk. I say one thing, but I do the other. So culture cannot be built that way. Employees' behavior or organizational systems. Culture has also become key to success and performance, as well as a source of legal and reputation risk. Nowadays, culture, all these people-related risks are also there. It can lead to legal and reputation. So this internal audit trend shows how internal audit can help management and the board drive the right culture, which is essential amid today. So at a time of when you are deploying the employees, when you are selecting, that time also the SOC and other controls say that you have to go for background checks, background verification checks, police verification, and all that before you take them, and prior employers checks. So you have to, promote a culture which is healthy and of very like-minded individuals who are very interested in their growth and their, this intense media and regulatory scrutiny and heightened oversight expectations. So don't take those who are not fitting into the culture. You want to build a culture. What type of culture you want to build? So likewise, you have to take the people also. Internal audit can provide guidance on steps that management and board can take, including setting the tone at the top. What is the tone at the top? Tone by the management. Sending the right cultural messages and aligning incentives with values. Many auditors find culture to be a theoretical concept. So this is important line. So many auditors, they just negate the culture element because they say, it is a theoretical concept. But the risks that this lack in culture brings are real. and can be quantified, and efforts to do so work particularly well over time. But it takes very little time to concentrate on this factor. But this is also driving the internal audit landscape. Internal audit and privacy regulation. There you go. We have GDPR raises the bar for this. GDPR programs are there. So internal audit future trend also applies to companies and internal auditors currently not. So the message is this, the last para. Is suppose you are still not affected, but the bill that is in the pipeline is not far behind. They should consider it as a wake-up call, as we expect other jurisdictions around the world to consider and adopt similar legislation. जो आज नहीं है, you have to anticipate that tomorrow you are also going to be bound by these. So why not have those controls also inside our internal audit program? And continuous monitoring. I think that was one question that you had. Trend in internal audit is moving towards real-time risk monitoring via technology-enabled risk sensing, analytics, and visualization tools. So now monitoring is not just your oversight. Monitoring tools are available. And while internal audit shouldn't absorb management's risk identification responsibility, function should have the tools needed to form a view and alert. So suppose there is some anomaly, and if say the system manager is not there, but he will get an alert on his mobile. So such tools have to be incorporated that you get timely alerts. Use the output from second line risk assessments to develop more dynamic audit plans and work with second line functions on what is and should be monitored and why, as well as on the forms of monitoring and how the output should be used. So it has to be the output from second line risk assessments itself, and develop such dynamic audit plans to incorporate the continuous monitoring within the internal audit function. So this is also one of the new trends. And combined assurance is the process of internal. So now this is the definition given by internal audit. Okay. Combined assurance is the process of internal and potentially external parties working together. So here there is no bar on internal only. Though it is internal audit, but external parties can also work together and combine the activities to reach the common goal. What is the common goal? Of communicating information to the management. Okay, so this is the definition of today's title. For example, enterprise risk management, internal control over financial reporting, SOX, information security. See how many, just a few I have named. Health and security, safety, legal and compliance, all have some overlap responsibility with the internal audit. So to say that SOX, then environmental health and security, all such compliances have some overlap. So why reinvent the wheel? Why not have a combined assurance function? So you have minimize overlap. Minimize overlap means there's a minimum overlap. Then streamlined reporting. I will be sharing this so you will be able to read it later. And streamlined reporting means once you get the same result from two different auditors, that means you can really depend upon that finding. Improved risk management, because every type of discipline the person is joining your team, and a coordinated effort and combined assurance process is done. And a greater confidence on the part of the management also. Overlap among departments will still exist, but that doesn't have to be negative. Overlap can happen, but still you have the comfort that what he discovered and what I discovered is the same. So with a slight overlap also, you can have greater confidence on your internal audit function. So it is like this, is a pre-assurance checks assigned to review group, initial assurance review, project response, final assurance review, and report to financial approval. So this is how to implement the assurance. So this is repeat slide. And only last thing I want to tell you is only 2 minutes I will take. Is it okay?
Yes, ma'am. We have the question answer round also, no?
No problem. So I want to let you know that IAAP is a certification which is going to be introduced by OCEG Group. Now, this is a certification which is under development, and it will be taking into account, it uniquely integrates the principles and practices internal audit, external audit, systems audit, fraud audit, and quality audit. So we will be looking forward to this type of a certification. Start my video. Okay. Just 2 minutes. Give me 2 minutes. So what will it cover? Audit and assurance, key audit and assurance concepts, objectivity and competence, formulating overall assurance strategy, planning individual assessment. So you can well imagine so much of the coverage is there for all the audits that we talking about. You know that it's not yet come, but it is in the pipeline. It will be coming. And the 5 benefits lastly is reduce burden, more reliable, improve coverage, and greater insights into business strategy and operations. I think that's it. And this is a small diagram on the projects. And one thing, being all your auditors, how will your clients benefit from integrated assurance? I can take the questions offline, no problem. A leading integrated assurance approach and framework is now a governance process. We have to impress upon them. Board subcommittees are increasingly involved in the monitoring of assurance activity, as it is due to LODR and because of so many pressures from the regulators. Company value drivers are better safeguarded and understood. C-suite executives are better protected in a personal capacity. Otherwise, they were personally liable in SOX for any gap in the internal controls in the organization. And then the risk and assurance is simplified. There's alignment with the way it approached, and optimal and cost efficient assurance coverage is promoted. So the entire gambit is to optimize the entire gambit is to achieve a good corporate governance through better internal audit, which is integrated, which eliminates so much redundancies and becomes more effective, if not efficient. Okay, thank you. 1 minute. I'll just start my video. I have started. I have to stop sharing now.
Yeah.
It is showing pause. 1 minute.
There only the button is there. Stop share.
I know, but
okay, ma'am. I'll quickly.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah. Okay.
I'll quickly take up some questions, 2-3 questions.
Or I can take them offline. I can go on the chat.
I have written in the chat, but just you explain it in 2-3 minutes. Then it's.
You have written in the chat?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. Oh.
Okay, fine.
I'll just dictate it. How to calculate audit effective index. Discuss more about ICOFR, IFC SOX, and what is common between the three that will bring in standard or integrated internal audit systems.
That cannot be explained in one line. Okay, yeah. So I can answer there by email.
Okay, I'll share with you.
I will write my email ID. Please write to me, Preeti Sigdar 6@gmail.com.
Okay, we'll pass on the concerned email ID to the person. Okay. Should I continue the questions?
You send me all the questions. I don't want to
Okay.
interrupt the next gentleman. That's why.
No, no issues.
No,
Okay,
it's
ma'am.
not right.
Yeah, I'll conclude the session for you. Overall, we
No, I
understood.
will answer all of them. I
Okay.
will send them answers. Yeah.
Yeah, no problem. Overall, so thank you, madam, for the insightful session. It was great to have you here. Overall, we understand that we need to cover overall aspects of the business, and we have a great responsibility on our shoulders as internal auditors. Also, due to change in technologies, we need to be really tech savvy right now. So, thank you for the session. Quickly over to next speaker. I'll come. I'll just introduce him shortly in a short manner. Mr. CA Mohit. He's the uh, uh, he's the co-founder of Thinkitive Global Consultancy Private Limited. Uh, then he's an expertise offering a bouquet of fully integrated strategic advisory, risk and assurance services. Mohit comes with an experience of over a decade in this field. Not wasting much time, I hand over to you, CA Mohit.
Thanks, Pratik. Hi, everyone. Good evening. And first of all, I would like to appreciate the audience and my professional colleagues to spend their time on Saturday evening and with today with us on these technical sessions. I appreciate IASB, ICI, and office bearers of Nasik branch to arrange this. Now, let me start my presentation. Pratikji, just let me know once you can see my presentation.
Yes, it's visible. Huh? It's visible.
Thank you. So let's start. I will be talking about evolving role of an internal auditor. So first of all, the slide that I have kept here is, one of my favorite slide when I see and from the internal audit perspective, because I second the opinion of Nandaji, our IASB chairman, that internal audit is a rising industry, some rising industry. And I feel we always have an open ground because we have access to any information, any management member, any stakeholder, any information, any strategy inside the organization. So that's how I think this image basically fits to our internal audit profession. Now, evaluation of internal auditor, how the internal auditor has evolved and what currently is the expectation of the management. I'll try to avoid the duplication, which my senior colleagues, Praveenji and Pritiji, has already covered. So basically, the internal auditor has moved from the observer, or I would say core internal auditor, traditional internal auditor, to the strategist, advisor, and facilitator. I think all of three is a combination of the internal auditor today, because we strategize, we help organization to strategize, we advise them on all the business processes, expansions, merger acquisitions, and also we facilitate, as Praveenji rightly mentioned, that we need to be catalyst. So we also facilitate now in the execution of this strategy and advisors, as advisors. So with the change of competition, technology, financial instruments coming in, change in the cost structure, regulation, global economies, there are new risks which has come in and which has opened the door as an opportunity for the internal auditors. So, I would say that I see the three aspects here. One, the evaluation of the business, because underlying is business, right? So business has changed. So internal audit function has changed. Now we need to change as an internal audit function. But there's interestingly one more thing which you must have experienced is that the internal auditor as a person, as a personality also need to be changed. So if you remember, that people who were introvert, or people who are good at the work but do not speak with a lot of people, or don't communicate much, used to be said that okay, they are fit for internal audit, right? So they were put in the internal audit department. But today the whole scenario has changed, because now internal auditor has to talk to the business owners to understand what exactly is happening in the business. If they don't understand, or don't communicate it, they will not be able to do a good job as an internal auditor. Internal auditor today is all about building relationship with the stakeholders, right? However, keeping the independence, objectivity, all integrated with building a relationship. If the internal auditor is able to communicate, if he is able to build a relationship with the stakeholder, then only I think we as an internal auditor can do a justice to the internal audit assignments or an internal audit function. Even if you're today technically very strong, but you cannot point out, or you cannot put across your points to the auditee, or convince them that this is a change that you need to do, or this is a control that you need to implement, I think then we will not be able to justice our work, and our whatever we have done is a waste, right? So now today we have to sell, as an internal auditor, we have to sell the controls, we have to sell the strategy to the internal auditor. So I believe today the internal auditor has to be more smarter, has to be have a good communication skill, should be able to build a relationships, should be a continuous learner and a creative thinker. Apart from the technical skills that you need to have as an internal auditor, I think this is a very important aspect of internal audit today. As business has evolved, internal audit function has evolved, and as a personality or as a person, internal auditor personally has to look after the non-technical skills, which is more towards creativity, communication, relationship building. Now, if you see the diagram here, we have moved from the value preservation to value creation. Okay, so today, as Praveerji already very briefly explained, that our core still remains as assurance. We cannot say that, okay, we will not do assurance, but only value addition. It is a second layer where we need to keep a balance between the assurance, giving the board assurance that yes, all the controls are working right or that need to be changed, and also creating a value. So if we talk about value preservation, we all know that we look after tax compliances, procurement process, IT, human resources in a traditional manner. When we talk about value creation, today internal auditor is involved in strategic planning, merger acquisitions, raising capital, tax strategies, compliances, and treasury, ERM and all. So this is an extended function of internal auditor today. So what exactly, is expected from us today as a evolved internal auditor? What exactly the management, what exactly audit committee as a business function expects from us, right? So as the business has evolved, it has opened a door for internal auditors in supporting the management goals. So we are able and capable enough as an internal auditor. And I like the slide again by my previous co-speaker. He shared that 62% of people today management believe that internal auditor can be, an advisor to them and they can be relied. So I think, yes, we are there today with which we have a capabilities and capacity to support top management goals, monitor the enterprise risk, and also enhance the regulatory compliance efforts, right? So what is expected is that we support the leadership agenda. We are skilled enough for the new evolved role. We create a value all across the ecosystem. We also participate in the strategy development because I always believe as an internal auditor, we have access to all the information, strategy, vision, mindset of and all the departments. Sometimes I say that we know better than a CEO or CEO of the company because we work so closely with each department that we know exactly what is the issue, at a culture level, at an operation level, IT level. so that we can help the organizations to basically develop a good strategy for future and focus on the fraud areas like IT and all. We know that these are the established risks we might have already experienced in few organizations. So we need to be proactive in those kind of things. So this is what, basically it is expected from an internal auditor. Today, if we see like the CFO also, it's not that only the role of internal auditor has changed. Today, if you see the role of CFO, which was mainly focused on day-to-day cash flows, loans, compliances, risk. Now, today, CFO is fully involved in merger acquisitions, operational excellence, and so they are evolving more to thrive and remain, relevant. So to be relevant, you have to evolve, right? And everyone in the ecosystem has to evolve. Business is evolving, CFO is evolving, the internal auditors are also evolving. Now, here I want to have some practical prospects, like what exactly has changed. And I think this is a very interesting slide, which with my last a decade of experience, more than a decade of experience in internal audit, what exactly has changed? Why we say that, okay, you have to change as an advisor, you have to guide the management, you have to more look from the operational excellence perspective. So I'll just give you a few examples. Okay. Now we all know that, from the pharma perspective, because I've been involved in a lot of pharma audits. So from that perspective, I'll let you know. So how we used to do P2P or O2C process or P2P, procurement to pay, order to cash process. So these are the core processes, right? Production planning control, procurement to pay, order to cash. Now, if we go back, we used to do an audit. Okay, the product is manufactured, whether the manufacturing records are maintained, right? Batch processing records, packing processing records are being maintained. After that, we used to do, okay, GRN is made, it is being sent to the central warehouse, it is sent to the CFA, it is sent to the stockist, it is sent to the retailer, revenue is recognized, expiry is received, and we have made a credit note, right? So broadly, we used to cover this in our RCMs and all. But today, I would say it is just a 20%. What we do is we see that, okay, what is the expiry percentage? Why your products are expiring? So we do analysis of why your products are expiring. What is the percentage of expiry of this product? How we can reduce the batch size. If it is, you might be aware that, in the pharma, there's a batch size. The product can be manufactured in that particular units can be manufactured. You cannot produce less, right? So if that is of high, the batch size is more, can we reduce the batch size? How, and generally, if we take an example of cardio-diabetic for your, BP or sugar that you take, generally has a expiry of 2 years, right? And it is not sold by a stockist if the expiry is less than 6 months. So effectively, you have 18 months time to sell that product. And you have to, any pharma company has to take back the product if it is expired. Now, as an internal auditor, I'm just trying to establish what has changed. It can be from your perspective, if you're doing garment, if you're doing IT or whatever. So I'm just giving an example from the pharma perspective so that you can just link what you are doing today. So we used to do, as I mentioned, the basic auditing and all those things, GRN, revenue recognition, stock audit, and all those things. But today, mainly we focus on how to reduce the expiry. How much stock we should keep at a CFA location, how much stock we should keep at a stockist, how much how much we should produce. So we go back and check, okay, what is the market prediction, what is the sales prediction for next 3 months, whether that is right, how much PO is being given to the factory, is there a gap in the in process, how much time it is being stored in the central warehouse, how much time it is stored in the CFA location, right? Is it 2 months, 3 months, 4 months? How effectively at the same time managing the logistics that you at the, because no company wants to lose the sales. You don't want to air the goods, right? But at the same time, keeping all these variable factors in mind, how we can help to reduce the expiry, right? It can be maybe by the reduction of the storage at various locations, or maybe changing the production cycle, right? So this is what has changed. Now we don't only restrict ourselves only to the documents, only to the sales, only to the credit notes or the GST on expiry and all those things, right? So we move ahead and do the speed to market analysis. Okay, it was produced, then why it was sold? If it is sold after 6 months, then why it was produced? You're blocking the working capital. You're blocking there is a chances of expiry. The raw material was when it was bought. Why it was bought 1 year back or 6 months back? Why not just in time or similar function like that? So this is what today, as an internal auditor, we have to see, we have to think and ensure. You have to think yourself as a CEO or a stakeholder of the company and see that, okay, why, why the wastage of the resources, why we cannot save, and at the same time looking at what risks are there in the organization. I'll just take a couple of more examples to give you an insight. And basically, we just, with this, I'm just trying to tell you that what and how we need to think as an internal auditor. Hire to retire process. If you talk about HR process, what you used to do is, okay, whether the budget is approved, PO, okay, interview is done by 2-3 people, hierarchy, approval is there, PO is issued, salaries processed on time, then all the compliances are being done, and retiring process is done on time, and final settlement is done. This is what we were concerned about. I would say, like, just a pre-COVID. Now, what we do in hire to retire, I think this is just not even a 20%. Today, we are more involved in what is the culture and behavior of the people. What is their, well-being policy? Staff well-being and talent management. What is being done by the companies to ensure that the mental health of people are taken care? Are the surveys being done? Is there any suicide that has been done? Is there any workplace discrimination that is happening? Whether the people are trained enough, not only for the core technical capabilities to be developed, but for their personal needs also, for their work-life balance also. So all this, I would say, has added to the scope. And it's very interesting when you go and see that, okay, what exactly, and you will see the results that, okay, how exactly this actually benefits the organization. If your culture is good, if your people are good, people are happy, people are retained. Now we go ahead and see, okay, what is your retention policy? What is your attrition policy? Why people are resigning more? We compare with the industry. Okay, if people are not leaving your organization, that is also a problem, right? Because you might be hiring a people who are maybe not useful in other companies, and that's why they are staying with you and not performing. If the attrition is more, so we need to analyze each and every, not everything has to be reported. But what I'm trying to say is that we have to have an open mind while doing an auditing from the business as a CEO perspective. And my co-speaker, Praveenji rightly mentioned that your customer is, what is your customer, right? It may not be a legal term for internal audit function, but yes, my customer is a CEO, because in the interest of the organization, he wants to understand what I should improve so that my resources, my infrastructure, money that I have invested gives an optimum result, right? So this all have changed. We go about, I'll just take a couple of more examples. Now, if someone who's maybe working the pharma might be aware that in last few months, many companies have received adverse drugs reaction notices, right? Maybe product has been called off and they have to stop the production for time being till the matter is settled, or directors are called in the courts to tell why the product has failed or why the quality was not up to the par or as per the standards. So as an internal auditor, we never used to go and see the quality of the product. We were just concerned about, okay, goods received, produced as per the PO, okay, delivered, GRN made, and blah, blah, blah. But we never went inside the factory to understand the process earlier. But today we go, maybe we might need SME, subject matter expert, but with them also we go and understand, okay, what is a batch? What is happening? Why the batch failed? Why technically the batch failed? Whether it was a raw material issue, whether it was an issue with the factory, whether it was an issue with the worker, and what controls can be put in to ensure that your product has a quality which is benchmarked. Why the yield is less? Yield is basically, input and output. Let's say 97% or 100%. You're putting a raw material for 100%. You should receive, ideally 100%. But okay, the losses, after the losses, you are receiving 97%. But if you have received 92%, you have to go back to the factory and understand, okay, where it went wrong. Right. So this is, this is the beauty of internal audit today, where that's why I say, and I refer to the picture on the starting of my presentation, that you have an open ground. Today you have any thought on the business, you go ahead and discuss with the stakeholder, and with the confidence that today business has on the internal auditors, they, if it is viable, they accept it, right? So this is basically a change. We go for the DPCO, drug price control order. So basically in the pharma you have DPCO, there are a lot of life-saving drugs and necessary drugs. Government controls the pricing. Okay, so let's say if your company have most of the products which is under DPCO, then you have to see that, okay, what is the combination of the drugs which is under DPCO, because there is always a benchmarking or MRP that is fixed by the government. You can't grow beyond that profit margin. So you need to have a combination of the other therapies. Right. So this is what we talk about the strategy. Okay. Today, nutraceutical does not have a DPCO. So is it a right strategy to buy any company who's into nutraceutical? Is it a right strategy to launch the products who is into nutraceutical so your margins are maintained? So friends, with this insight, I just wanted to brief, from this slide, that takeaway is that the checklist that we are having, the documents that we are having may not be 30-40%, not more than be 30-40-50%. So my always take from the internal auditor is, you should understand business. If we understand business, then only you can be a reliable internal auditor. When I say business, it's not about processes. How exactly a CEO thinks, how exactly the CEO thinks, how exactly the pharma, let's say in my case, pharma, what's happening all across. If you see US market, it has become generic. So is it a risk in Indian company? Yes. Indian company can also become generic after 10 years, 20 years. So what will happen to the branded generic companies? Right? So this is a risk which we foresee. Okay, now there, if you foresee the risk, there can be a UCMP guidelines that might come in near future for pharma companies. So today your client or internal audit function that you are working, is it compliant to those UCMP guidelines? Is it compliant to DPCO? Is it compliant to the future model that's coming in? So all these things, as an internal auditor, we could, earlier we never did this, but now we have evolved as the business has evolved, internal audit function has evolved, and personally we also need to evolve. So this was an example how we are evolving. Now, okay, everyone is talking about we need to change, we need to deliver value. Okay, now what is the approach? What approach we should keep? That, okay, today as an internal auditor, I want to deliver value to the organization. It can be, value in terms of money. It can be value in terms of savings. It can be in terms of quality. It can be, the focus risk area. So, as an internal auditor, we need to prioritize the focus area. We cannot cover everything. Okay, when I say we cannot cover everything, I meant that, okay, from assurance point of view, definitely as per the scope, as per the mandate, as per the understanding between CAE and committee and management, we have to do that. But apart from that, from the advisory role, from the value addition perspective, we need to prioritize and we need to focus on two things. One, the area which has higher impact on the audits. That means, where it is a greater risk. So first area is where you have a greater risk. The area where you have a greater risk. If I talk about the pharma company, the major risk is the quality issues of the drug failure. If you are doing trials, then compliances, and environmental issues, environmental laws. Okay, so these are the greater risk areas from the pharma perspective. So you need to focus on the greater risk area, and second, you need to focus on the area which can add more value to the business. As I took an example of expiry, so general trend is that if you are selling for goods for 100 rupees, 2% is a general expiry for a large corporates or a mid-size companies, but small companies may have up to 10%. So when you are going to do an audit of a pharma company, you should prioritize, okay, this regulatory is my priority from the risk perspective, and maybe the expiry or production cycle can be my higher impact area from the audit perspective, where I can get a saving or operational excellence for the management. So this is very important focused approach. Shorter audit cycles and faster delivery, agile. Why we say that we need to agile? We all are aware that agile has come from the IT industry, where we used to first write, because we work as an SME. When I got an opportunity to work as an SME subject matter expert for development of ERP, so we used to write big documents and just present to the IT company, and then we used to see, okay, now this process has changed, right? So what IT companies did is, okay, no big documents. Let's do one thing. Let's call the people who are involved. We'll make a short framework. We'll go back, create that system, come back to you, and you check and let us know whether we understood it right or not. And then the documentation and everything from audit perspective will take care, right? So they almost came to the real time, and they were so agile that, okay, they can change any time. So that's how, as an internal auditor, how it can be done in internal audit. So if we have planned 3 processes this quarter, P2P, O2C, or let's say HR process, when you were working on the H2R as per your RCMs or the scope, you found that no, this need to be did more, because you see that there is a lot of opportunities for improvement. Okay, you can go back to audit committee and say, look, we had these 3 processes, but we have found that H2R, there are a lot of improvements or gaps or fraud or whatever. So we are skipping this process and going ahead. This we are shifting to the next quarter, and we'll make sure that we are doing it next quarter, or we'll put some additional resources. So we need to be more agile, faster, and audit quality. We need to increase audit quality. When we can increase the audit quality, when we understand the business, we are skilled enough to do our work, and we have quality resources. Of course, it goes without saying that we need to use IT tools and whatever, right? More and more interaction between the audit team and auditee improves the, so basically it helps we need to interact more and more. Okay, what is your expectation? That is clear. Then how you do this, how you do that. Okay, while doing this, okay, if something comes to my mind, I straightway talk to the stakeholders. Say, this is what stakeholders can be, your process owner, can be your head of the department. See, hey, this is what I experienced. Would you like to explore that? He'll say, okay, I don't mind if you show me how it works in the industry. Then we make a small presentation and tell them, see, you're using 10 people. With this, it can be automated. You'll use 2 people. Cost of IT of ownership is this much, and they'll say this much, and your ROI is this much. Would you be interested? And it will reduce your time, your efforts, and everything. And then if you're okay, we will also suggest this to the audit committee. This will only happen when you will communicate, interact. Otherwise, internal audit department will be looked as the third party auditing people. As we interact, we should be presented in a way, we should discuss in a way that we are there to solve the problem of the process owner, and not to just have a note and present to the board, right? So this is what I think the approach which I have been practically following as well in my limited experience, and we have seen a good results. So again, the next generation IEA look like. So what the thought process should be, the mindset, adopt. We did last quarter this way, last year that way, so we'll not do this way. No, let's adopt if it is right, and change, innovate. Adopt and change, change yourself as per the requirement of the business, innovate, be a creative thinker. Capabilities, for sure, we need a skill, that is technology, standards, understanding of the business, global approach. We need to upgrade our technical as well as non-technical skills. Approach, as I mentioned, I think these three things I believe is a core for any internal auditor: mindset, capabilities, approach. Move from observer to advisor. Be a partner to the organization or the people working there. Now, I'll briefly cover in the interest of time. I think I still have 15 minutes. So, interest of time, as 2022 has passed away with so many risks settling and new risks bringing up, how the next year 23, 24, or 23 look like? What are the top 10 risks that we should, as an internal auditor, should see from the while we are planning, we are doing our audit plan? So post COVID world, the things where we all know that there was issue with the supply chain issues. They were changing mindset of the people. So there was a change in the mindset of the people. There were a lot of new threats. Challenges with so many things. It was trying to settle down in last few months or quarters, and then there, we got a new skyrocketing inflation and a geopolitical risk that we all are aware about. Okay, so the risk is something which will keep on changing in this dynamic business. As an internal auditor, we need to just be a far-fetched approach and see that, okay, what is a risk that my client has in his business? And this is something which you can't learn. At least I personally believe you can't learn with the sessions. You can't learn with the books or COSO approach and all those things. This will happen when you're going and talking to the CEO of various companies, CEOs of various companies, or person who is handling that process, and ask him, okay, what is happening now? This is happening in the universe or globe. What do you think will happen in your company? And I think you will learn a lot of things talking to them. And that's why I always say, keep on communicating in a nice manner. No, it's not important that you have a long emails and write to them and await. Just pick up a call and talk to them and say that, okay, this is what I think your process or your company might have the risk. What is your thoughts? And go out and speak to multiple colleagues who are doing internal audits in the same industry, your regulators. Go and talk to your suppliers and then see that, okay, whether you are right in your approach. So we all are aware that there are few established risks, emerging risks, right? Now, IT, I would say, as established risk. We all are aware that, IT, cyber crime is an established risk. Emerging risks are basically towards the climate change and all our emerging risks, which have started showing the results. Exceptional risks are one-time risk. Okay, maybe we can say as a COVID or something like this, and recurring risk are which is going to occur again. So we need to classify while making a risk approach. And it's not, just I'll go off of the track and tell you that, a lot of my friends and that's how I started my internal audit practice also. When you see and listen to this technical sessions, you think, okay, I don't have a client where I can go and talk about the risk. Sorry, I don't think that's the right approach. You might be doing a statutory audit. Find out 2-3 good clients who are in these industries and think about that business. Okay, analyze their books. Go and request them. Okay, I want to understand your business further. Because I want to study on this process. Go and talk to them, and you will realize that, okay, what risk can happen to I'm talking about people who are going to start with the internal audit. As I mentioned, it's a sunrising industry. You don't have internal audit client, you have a small client. Analyze any one client from the internal audit perspective. Try to implement, try to see, okay, what is the risk? Try to talk to them and you will analyze and understand, okay, yes, these are the risks and this is how they are planning to mitigate. You can use the same information, the knowledge with the other internal audit clients when you get a opportunity to work for an internal audit client. Now, these are the risks which currently we see for 2023. One is economical and geopolitical instability, which we have seen in in the current year. What has happened with Russia, Ukraine. With this, there has been increase in the pricing of oil and inflation, supply chain issues, climate change, human capital, climate change, with the increase in every year, we see that there's an increase in the temperature and a lot of impact on that. Human capital, talent acquisition and retention. Acquisition and retention both is a challenge today, and we need to see that how we can help the organization to have a better control so that they can have retain and acquire right kind of candidates. ESG is basically environmental social governance reporting. This we'll discuss in brief ahead, which is again one of the emerging new area of discussion, practice, or I would say a function in the internal audit itself. ESG reporting, which has already started in India. Cybersecurity and data privacy. This all we all are aware, or maybe we have experienced in organization or personally as well. Organization culture and behavior. Third party risk. Now it's going beyond third party. We say it's nth party risk. Digitalization, business model disruption, how the businesses are digitalizing, though there is increased risk due to the digitalization also. How business is disrupting business models, their disruptive business model. If you see Amazon, if you see all these e-commerce websites, they have basically disrupted the market of traditional retail market. Business continuity crisis. Is your client ready enough to handle the crisis management, or if something goes wrong in a couple of places, will your client survive? I think this is very important. Business continuity, whether the business will continue or not. And third is consolidation. Now if you see, let it be any industry, as we took the example of pharma, I'll continue the same. In pharma, you would see that a lot of big sharks are eating up the small sharks or taking over the small sharks, and these are the win-win situations. So in that, how as an internal auditor can help? So these are the top 10 risks. I think we more or less same couple of been added from 2022 to 2023, mainly ESG and economical and geopolitical risk and climate change. So very briefly, I'll touch upon food for thought on all those risks. That okay, there is a risk. There is a economical and geopolitical risk, uncertainty due to Ukraine war. There can be something else tomorrow. What has happened? What we have learned from that? Okay, the commercial law, there are a lot of things that has come in. There are a lot of sanctions that have come in. Whether it will impact your business. So as an internal auditor, what we need to see is that okay, this risk, how it's going to impact my client's business or my organization business today or in the long term. If I'm not impacted, we have to go to the next level and see whether the third party suppliers are exposed to these risks. And if that is there, we need to address and make an ecosystem where we see that, okay, this risk can be mitigated. If we talk about climate change, it has a direct content. So because of the direct, global warming, increase in the population, use of the plastics and a lot of, these gases, carbon and all, we have a lot of issues with the climate change. We have seen the temperature is increasing. We have experienced the water level going down. Because of that, the agriculture yields are low. There is direct damage to the infrastructure and a lot of things. Now, even so, we work with large, garment manufacturer who are the top renowned US or Indian manufacturer of sportswear or athlete wear, where they see that today they are talking about, so if you see leisure wear or a sportswear is made of a polyester. Earlier, it was made of a normal polyester, which was not degradable. It used to took 100 years or 500 years to degrade, right? Today, these all brands are aware, so cautious about the material that is being used, whether they are degradable, is it made from the recycled plastics, how it will impact the climate. So, and I was shocked to see when I visited a couple of factories last time that the manufacturer, they have stopped using the tickets or tags, which was made of, paper, so that they can reduce. And every year we have to report, okay, how much we have reduced the dependency on the plastic or dependency on the, that we have saved these many trees. So this has come up. As an internal auditor, we need to see that, okay, are we prepared to face the critical climate crisis or energy or whatever, can be from your context of your organization. I think talent management retention, we saw that, we have to see that, okay, not only the financial impact or attrition or all those things, but we also need to see, okay, whether the skill matrix is being made. This is very important. And, as an internal auditor, we need to consult and tell, okay, do you have a skill matrix? In the manufacturing, generally, when I talk about garment manufacturing or any manufacturing for the workers, do you have a skill matrix? Do you know who will perform better in which area of manufacturing? I think this is all the thought process that we need to bring into any business. We talk about ESG, environmental, social, and governance reporting from 2022 23. You must be aware that top 1,000 listed entities in India, from the market cap point of view, need to report business responsibility and sustainability report. So they need to give this disclosure along with their annual report. Again, these disclosures, we need to upgrade ourselves. We need to understand the ESG metrics and what disclosure should be given, right? So it generally covers from the governance point of view, it covers, does company have a bribery policy, anti-corruption policy, how much energy is consumed, how much water is consumed, and what has happened. So we need to understand this risk and ensure that our organization is compliant with these kind of emerging risks. And for sure, we need to upgrade ourselves. So these are the few risks, and I have tried to put in a perspective that as an internal auditor, what should be our thought process and how we can help the organizations to mitigate those risks. Cybersecurity, I'll just skip because I think we have been discussing this and experiencing this. We need to be we can be, some of us can be expert of the cybersecurity, but mostly I've seen that we use subject matter experts to get these systems audited from the cyber security, data privacy, and ITGC point of view. Third-party relationship and supply chain. Again, this is one of the important risks. Recently, we have seen that a lot of risk or financial loss has come in due to the third party. We have outsourced to the third party, but we never went there and saw what are their processes. Your facility can be world class, what you are preparing, but some of the part which you are outsourcing outside, whether that your vendor is also maintaining your standards. If not, because now in the pharma, the same example I'll take, that today the marketing company and the manufacturing company both are responsible. Earlier it used to be that if I'm making a drug or a medicine which is made by third party manufacturer, I was not responsible as a marketing company, right? But today we all are responsible. So we need to go beyond the third party also. First, we have to see the third party, and then we have to go beyond the third party and see that, okay, how it is impacting the organization control policies. Digital disruption and new technologies, for sure, from both the perspective, from the business and from the internal audit perspective, we see that a lot of things are coming in from the new technology point of view. How business disruption is happening? Is it will it impact your business, your organization, or your organization which you are auditing? How it will impact. Second will be how to digitalize their work, and how as an internal auditor we can work on digitalization strategies. We can help in including the AI strategies, BI tools, and a lot of things where the business can take help of the technology. And also we see as a risk also that, okay, when you implement these technologies, what happens, right? So what can go wrong, so that we become a part of digitalization strategy of the organization. Business continuity and crisis response. Again, I think in this startup culture, I feel this is one of the biggest thing that we need to see, that, okay, will this business continue? I'll not take the name, but we all are aware that all the big startups in various edutech, IT, and all those things, which had a huge valuations, today we are not sure whether it will exist. As an internal auditor, if you are an internal auditor of any business, I would see that, okay, whether this business model is right, whether it will continue, and whether this business can sustain. If there is an issue, how do they have a business continuity plan? Will they be able to respond to the crisis? Because there are a lot of stakeholders involved in any business, right? So as a IEA, we need to review all these things and see that, okay, there is the right kind of policies, governance across the decision making when there is a crisis or a business continuity issue. So merger and acquisition, we discussed as an internal auditor, all the industries, let it be any industry, there is a consolidation in a big way happening in the last decade or last 5 years. I would say, the global mergers have been record breaking. How internal auditor, as an internal auditor, we can work is basically we need to get involved from day one, whether the target that we are acquiring is of benefit. What is the outcome we are looking at by acquiring that organization? I'll just give you one example. We were involved in the we were doing an auditing for one of the client. They were trying to acquire the other client. Everything was perfect from the profit point of view, from the business point of view, but from the culture point of view, we could discuss with the management the culture of this organization and this organization will not match. There was a serious concern about the culture. There was completely, and it was mostly manpower driven industry. So at the end of the day, it was decided that the company will not take over that organization because of the culture. So this is what change we as an internal auditor can bring in the merger and acquisition. Of course, during the life cycle, whether the due diligence is happening, what happens post acquisition, and all those things, we can be a part. But it's very important to become a part of the initiative as a strategy of merger and acquisition. So I'll just, with this is my last slide for this session. A few takeaways which I believe that every internal auditor, at least, and it will help us to move forward, is focus on future. So be in present. Let's be in present, understand and be watchful what is happening, but focus more and more on future. What can happen with this client? What can happen with this industry? How we can help and mitigate the risk. I think that's a very key today for the internal auditor. As I mentioned, we are aware about all the processes. We have access to everything. We can easily predict, what's going to happen if we have that thought process. Integrate ERM. I think Preeti ma'am had taken a great session on how to integrate your risk with the internal audit. And it's very important that it should go hand in hand, maybe in a collaborative approach with the risk department and internal audit department. Augmented skills, definitely we need to have that capability and capacity to do the internal audit and leverage the resources that we have. Focus on the fraud, that's upcoming fraud that you see. Establish an advisor role. It's very important that people in the organization look at you as an advisor, look at you as a people who are going to improve their life, work life. You are going to ease out their work life, improve the processes, and remove the bottlenecks. Continuous auditing. This is very important. We can't go back after 2 months, 6 months, or a year and tell that, okay, that voucher was not approved, or that you did wrong, or that compliance did not happen, or that deal was not right. You need to be continuous, watchful what's happening in the organization. I understand that we cannot do everything on the real time basis, but we need to identify what are the critical factors that we need to continue audit and keep on influencing the continuous auditing technique. Maintain independence and objectivity. It's very important. Though we need to establish a relationship, with building a relation, we have to build a relationship with the people so that we are aware what's happening, but we need to have that line of thin line where we maintain our independence and objectivity. Provide value added assurance. Very important that we go beyond the compliance and value add whatever level. It can be a process, it can be a risk, it can be few crores, few lakhs, whatever. But at least we don't want to be a cost center as internal auditor. And believe me, today, most of the audit functions is not a cost center on any organization. It's basically breaking even, or I would say it's a profit-making department. Leverage access to the management. This is most important, as I repeatedly mentioned in my presentation, that we have access to almost everything in the organization. When you're talking on the board meeting, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, whatever you have all the rights to speak to the CEO, audit committee, independent directors. So you have access to all the management, access to all the resources, I think, which is a great tool we have, and it works as a strength. So with this, I will conclude my session. Thanks again for a patient hearing and on this Saturday evening to be a part of this session. Happy to connect over LinkedIn, phone, or email and discuss in case you have any experience or if you have any issues. I will try my best to talk to you and if I can resolve that. So thank you. Thanks everyone once again. Over to you, Pradeep ji, for in case of conclusion or any questions you have.
Okay. Thank you, Mohit sir, and thank you, viewers, to spare the time on this Saturday evening. There were some questions, 2-3 questions. I'll just quickly go through up. Ground level internal audit are mostly done by junior members in audit firm. In an evolving role of internal audit, how this is going to be addressed?
Yeah, I think very good question. Now, as we talk like so it vouching and all that has gone away, right? Because it is 100% online, and that is there, which is done by the But as a partner or as a manager, you need to first understand the business. You need to find out a criticality, and you need to be involved. That's important because that gone those days where you need to send the internal or to junior and tell them, okay, just do this auditing. You have to be a part of the internal audit function. And now I would say that it is a specialization. So you need to be a part, you need to know the culture and then hand over and take the regular updates from what's happening. You need to be present. So that's why I think we say that now internal audit cannot be done by sitting in the room. You have to be there right on the ground with your team, right on the regulator. I'll just give one example, right? So in the pharma companies, now we used to just see, okay, what are the marketing expenses, whether the health camps are being done, approved, and all those things. Now today we go there and see that camps are they are doing the camps, and not only from the expense perspective, we go and see that the tools. If you are doing a blood test, whether the needle which you are using is right or not, so that there should not be any effect. So gone those days where you could sit in the office and do the internal audit. I think you have to be there with your team.
Okay, thank you. Ma'am, there were some questions. If you had to answer them. Everyone liked the session. I had some comments. The session was very good. So that was the feedback by other members. And for members, the video will be shown on ICI TV. So in case you wanted the presentations and all, the video will be posted in 2-3 days on ICI TV. So you can go through the video as well later on.
Yeah, I'll email you the presentation.
Okay, no problem.
And you email me the questions, I will take them later.
Okay, no problem. I have the list of the participants who asked the questions. I'll just mail them.
Yeah, I think some of them took my email and my number, so they will send me.
Okay, no problem. So I officially conclude today's session. CA Gyanchan Mishra sir is not available right now. So I take this opportunity to thank you all on behalf of him. And it was a wonderful evening tonight. So thank you all the participants and the speakers for today. I'll officially conclude the session.
Thank you.